Welcome back to another episode of Fact or Freestyle,
where we uncover facts from BMX.
And now we're going to find out what's going on.
Let's see how far down this rabbit hole we go.
Them logging in,
Yeah,
so that will be your surprise. Dang it!
I guess that's when the surprise will happen.
We'll see. If I mean, it's nothing special, but it's not that guy.
Is it a surprise or is it special? So Ray had me laughing this morning like hell when he roasts me. Oh, look at this. You know
what they did, right? They stepped on stage
at Live Aid. All the people gave.
That might be the greatest line of any song.
Wait, what happened? Tell me what happened.
Hey, hold on a second. Before we get going, Woody, Dave,
yes.
Look at his mustache.
Look at Ray. Look at Ray's
to
face.
Join the show.
Woody Hitson, I've been waiting 2 years for this. Was that really Woody Hitson?
Good to see you, Ray. Yeah.
Hey, Woody. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
And look, I got the mustache, and Woody doesn't have a mustache, Joe.
I don't, but I didn't shave for the last couple of days, so I got some scruff going.
Oh, cool. Hey, Woody, can you turn your phone? Because then we'll get the full screen. Yeah. There you go.
Progress.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Can you turn your phone too?
Sweet hat.
Oh, okay. Nice. What's up, Ray?
Yo, man. How you doing?
Looking nice.
Hey, there's an echo going on Chris's side. What's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that, Joe?
I think it finished. I think it's done. I think
it's done.
There was echoing, but now there's no echoing.
Awesome. Cool.
Is that better?
It's perfect.
Everyone's good. Okay. So cool. Continue, Ray. What were you saying? I like your hat, by the way.
I wasn't saying anything.
You were talking about Run DMC.
No, Joe.
All right, so here's what happened. So yesterday I'm having a session and I take a breather and there's a text from James to me and Todd, and it's him with his arm around Jay Leno. And I'm like, and then I think Dave, maybe you called, and I'm like, I'm just getting interrupted. Oh no, James calls. He's like, oh, I gotta tell you, I don't pick up. I text him. I'm like, look, I'm having a session. Would you please leave me alone? But it's still on my mind, and so I go to ride out to do my next trick, and I'm like, wait a second, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I went and took a picture of myself, a selfie in the Terradome, and then I cut out Jay Leno and I put him next to me and I posted it. And then 5 minutes later, James posted his. And then I caused a big flare up. Like, James, why are you always trying to take my bits?
So I thought he posted it first. You posted it first, and then he posted.
Chronologically, I posted it first. And then Warren jumps in the comments.
No. Warren doesn't jump in at all. I saw the Jay Leno pick, and I'm like, you guys are 30 years too late. Because Warren was a superstar back in the 80s. He was the official show hack. He was more of a show hack than you, but a professional show hack. And so he did a show with Jay Leno and had a picture exactly like the picture that these two nitwits were showing. So I said, well, Warren got you 30 years ago, and I sent Warren or whatever on Facebook. I was like, hey, Warren, show these guys what time it is. And then he pulled the photo up. So.
And Jay Leno was mouth posing with Warren.
But I still don't get the reference of the Run DMC. So we all started.
Oh, well, okay. Well, it goes back and forth. Ray writes this whole thing about how Warren was the man and he was touring. And then he's like, and Warren was on stage at Live Aid. All the people paid and the poor got paid.
No, all the people gave.
All the people gave and the poor got. That has been going through my mind all morning. That that line.
Warren and Eaton did shows in Vegas too, right?
Yeah, Warren did
Back.
shows, and Warren was part of a group called the Gotham City Daredevils.
Yeah,
that was done by like a Las Vegas type show called, I forget what the name of the actual production was called, but he was in Vegas, he was in Atlantic City, he went to Japan for a bit, and he was in where else? Oh, Bermuda for a while. So he did shows everywhere for extended periods of time, and ran into like every celebrity, like Rodney Dangerfield and Evander Holyfield and all kind of, like everybody, just like being in Vegas and Bermuda and all that stuff. So that's why I brought that up.
So did Eaton get the gig on the Letterman show? Did he parlay that somehow?
That had nothing to do with, I don't know what that had.
He was Letterman's stunt double. Yeah.
Yeah, and Goro Tamai was on there once too. If you remember Goro, he was on there. Hey, don't forget Woody Itzon's here, by the way.
Yeah, I think we should officially start. Welcome to Factor Freestyle, and we've got Chris Young and Woody Itzon.
Oh man,
so, Joe and Ray.
What's going on, Chris?
Wow,
what's up,
what
Woody?
Amazing! We got Woody in the house. He did a little golfing this morning, and did you win? Did you win the tournament?
I was going to say, how many golf jokes are Joe and I going to make during this call?
I could use some good ones.
Well, no, they're not golf jokes. They're us making fun of you playing golf all day. Is that still okay?
No, I mean, I teed off at 7. I was done by 11.
Wow.
Literally done by 11.
So,
nice.
So Woody, I'm not an avid golfer. I've golfed once in my life, and it was in Maui on a course called Silver Sword, I think it was called. And I got a 26 on the first hole. Is that bad?
Depending on your first time with a club in your hand, that's probably not too bad.
Yeah.
At least you were honest about your strokes, Ray.
Yeah. And then I don't know if this part was bad. Like, these other people frowned upon it, but these 4 Asian women asked if they could go ahead of me because I was taking too long. And I said, sure. Was that weird?
When you get passed by 4 women, yeah, you might want to look at like bowling or something else as an
I hate
alternative
bowling.
sport.
I'm really bad at bowling too. Yeah,
but you could probably at least get a pin down, and that's better than a 26 on a hole.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's a future in bowling for you. There's a future in bowling for you, right?
Yeah. Everyone's got to have a future.
It is.
So we have absolutely no prep for this show, which is great.
Okay.
Because that's how we roll.
Well, we do have one unresolved question.
Okay, yeah, let's go with the unresolved
and
question.
Woody, I'd like for you to go back in time in your mind to maybe it's 1984 or 1983, the Nationals, when Jose did the first backflip. Okay. According to reports, you were backstage with Jose, and you were doing tail whips. Is that true?
I think I've had texts with you over stuff over time, asking me stuff. And the reality is, unless I dig through like a bunch of magazines, it's hard to say one thing or the other. But I can tell you, without a doubt, that the first person I saw do a tail whip on a bicycle was Brian Blyther. And we were actually doing a show for Huffy. I was riding for Hutch. Brian was riding for Huffy. And Bob Hadley was the team manager. And he had actually asked me to ride for Huffy, asked me what it would take to get me to leave Hutch. And I just told him I didn't want to because I just designed a bike that I really liked. And so Blyther, I saw do a tail whip. I didn't see him make one, but I saw him shove his front foot in the tire and kick the back end around. So that's the first time that I saw a tail whip. Now I went home that day and had him like within 30, 40 minutes, of being able to do it,
Interesting.
But it was not my trick by any means. Brian's the first person. Now, the first time I saw Jose do a backflip was actually at the AVA Grands. And again, I would have to look to see whether that was the Grands in 83 or the Grands in '84 because my memory is bad.
Do you remember where it was, Woody? Where was the Grands?
It would have been in like Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Or
'Cause
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I saw it in Chandler. I saw him do it at Chandler. I know that was 84.
Yeah, so he did it before he did it before that.
Okay.
So if you saw it in Chandler in '84, because Chandler would be the winner at nationals, usually like in February.
Right.
So that would have had to been November of '83.
Ah, okay.
So there's a chance that Jose's full of shit when he said he saw something he didn't see. Maybe not full of shit, just he missed. Missed something.
You know what happens a lot in freestyle is that you're trying one thing and you go one way and your bike goes the other way. And if you're looking over your shoulder or whatnot, and you're like, hey, you know, I mean, he might have seen whatever he thought he saw, but I mean, you know, who knows? It could have been a boomerang that went wrong. It could have been.
This actually sounds like how the FBI analyzes UFO reports. Could have been a boomerang.
Could have been a boomerang.
He saw what
Maybe
he
a
saw.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I cannot claim that. That would be Big's trick.
We'll go with the boomerang that went wrong. We'll go with that.
Wrong.
Yeah, I said, I don't have. I mean, I have no recollection of it. That's how I remember it. So.
Well, thank you for indulging our
Yeah.
petty line of questioning. It's
Exactly.
what I live for.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, thanks, Woody. Okay, Woody, we'll see you next time. No.
All right, man. I'll see you in a year.
Appreciate the time. No, really, but how is Texas for you? It seems like you've been there for quite some time. I hear that there might be some other riders moving there, like Dominguez and Blyther are talking about that. And
Yeah, I've been here 11 years. I mean, I moved when the kids were little bitty. I kind of saw what was happening with the public school system in Southern California. I mean, you know, we would do assemblies at schools. You walk in the bathrooms, there's no paper towels, no soap, no nothing. You know, it was just so weird. And I mean, I hate to say this, but having done literally thousands of school shows, I mean, where you live really depends on the kind of education you're going to get in the school, because you could definitely see like a nice looking school, man. And then we would show up, you know, set up to do the ramps. And then some of the kids come up, they'd be so nice. And others would be like so foul at the mouth, you know, and you're talking like 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. You're like, man, where'd you learn to talk like that? You know, but then you'd be up in the mountains in Eureka and the kids would be all super nice. It was kind of weird, but my wife was a school teacher and we just didn't love the schools. And I think with everything that was going on, especially with the liability, you know, owning freestyle teams and doing BMX and skateboard and freestyle motocross shows, Texas kind of made a lot of sense. You know, the no state income tax definitely made a lot of sense. And being in the middle of the country was pretty convenient. You know, you can get anywhere pretty fast. The people are nice. You know, I mean, like where I moved to was like where I grew up in Villa Park, you know, would be like 40, 45 years ago. And now, like when you go back to where I live, it's like every time I land on a plane, it's so crowded. There's so many people. Everything is so brown. I mean, Dave, you could probably relate, right? After living in Oregon for all those years, everything was so green and the air was clear. And then when you're down in SoCal, you're like, man, you know, it's a big difference.
yeah.
So I just think it was just a kind of a quality of life decision. And, you know, yeah, it's been really good. I mean, met a lot of good people. Things worked out real well for me. So, I mean, I will say this summer has been a little testing on the heat. You know, we had like the second hottest May, June in recorded history. And we just had like 45 or 48 days of 100 or hotter temperatures.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that was awesome. You know, and then when you get like one of those days, it's like 105 and you check your phone and the feels like 112. I mean, you know, you really haven't lived till you're out there in like 112. It's good. So,
Yeah. So you have to golf earlier and earlier, do night golfing or something.
we go early every time, like between 6:30 and 7:30 in the morning. We're done. We're usually done in like 3.5 or 4 hours, but there's a big group of us. So if you're in the first group out, you still sometimes have to wait an hour and a half. before the rest of the guys come in to figure out the money deal and who gets what, and then that always leads to lunch, and then a lot of times, I mean, you're not getting out of there till like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just today I told them, I said, look, I got to cut out today, guys. So, and so that was it.
Because you have a podcast to attend.
And
Podcasts are very
Guys,
important.
I got important
and
things to
Woody
do.
doesn't do podcasts, like he said. He told
He's
us.
doing
That's
one
my
now,
first
man.
one. I had to ask Dave how to do it because I'd never done one.
Yeah, he
Doing
had to
great so
download
far.
Zoom.
And your second one's going to be even better.
It's always been like, no, I can't. But I do. I have a lot of. I have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I got a kid in college, kid that plays high school athletics, a dad who is, in the twilight years of his life, and I've just learned that, I've made so many plans that have literally fallen apart, and within 24 hours, that I've just flat out stopped making any plans for anybody. Ask anybody that's tried to get me to go to an event or commit to another thing, because I'd rather just say no, I can't, than promise somebody I'm going to be someplace and then not show up.
Yeah,
Wait a second. This sounds like a Curb Your Enthusiasm bit. So you don't make any plans.
Right.
So what are the best reactions that you get when you actually show up for something?
People are like, wow, you're here. But it's like, but it's been so long since I've been anywhere, I guess, and like I said, it's fun to go to the events, but it's like, I can't just like dodge in and out and be gone. Like, even when I just did a road trip with my kid and I wanted to stop by the BMX Hall of Fame because I hadn't seen it yet. And I thought, okay, we'll just be in there because we got to make it down to OU so you can do a campus tour. And I thought I was going to be in there 15 or 20 minutes, and I was there for almost 2 hours. Because Gork was there and another guy was there, and we started talking, and then, hey, can we do a little video quick thing? And that never goes fast. So, yeah. And I mean, I enjoy it, but I know like what my schedule will allow if I got to be someplace or a tea time or get my kids someplace for a tour. So, but like I said, it's just a lot of stuff has kind of gone on in the past year and a half, and since last October. I've talked to Dave about it a little bit. I mean, my dad's just 94 and has really short-term memory's terrible. Had kind of a second heart attack. Fluid on the lungs. Which is heart failure. And but he beat that. But then sometimes he calls me and says, "Hey, I'm not feeling real good. So man, I'm like, I'm only 20 minutes away from DFW. So I'm like, hey, I grab a backpack, some clothes. I'm at the airport counter buying a ticket, and I'm in California in about 3 or 4 hours." Wow. I mean, that's literally what happens from time to time. And then I don't know whether I'm going to be there for 2 days or 2 weeks. So, that's just it. And then when I'm dealing with that stuff, the last thing I want to do is be chatting with people and turn something that should be, something fun for me to something that's like,
Yeah.
So I appreciate your patience, Dave. So.
Yeah. Well, patience paid. Ray thought I was never going to get you on. Ray's like,
I was like, he's never going to be on. What, you don't got time for this nonsense?
There's probably 3 or 4 people out there going, nonsense. Man, I can't believe you did this. You told me no. You told me no.
Dave, I might as well just tell you, I called Woody like 2 days ago and was like, "Hey, Woody, can you come on?" He's like, "Sure, no problem, Ray."
See,
yeah,
I knew
it's not that hard. You just gotta people
the Ray.
People, you just have to talk to people that trust you. You know what I mean? Woody trusts me, so
Yeah.
he's not afraid. He's all good now.
Yeah, no, all is good, Ray. It's been a long time since we were singing in New Jersey, but it's been.
I know. You ought to tell Joe about that story.
Yeah, I want to hear that. Singing in Jersey. What's that about? Well,
we were out one night. One night, I don't know.
I can't remember. We were at one of the casinos, I think.
No, it was actually near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and somebody called and said, "Hey, Woody Itzen and Blyther are like in Harrisburg, and we're gonna." I forget what it was, but I think it was around 2000 and anywhere between 2001, 2, and 3 in that time frame. And we met, me, Gary, Warren, and a bunch of other people met these guys at some like hotel, and there was like a country karaoke bar or something. And soon as we got there, Warren just started shaking his head. He's like, "This isn't going to end well." And so sometimes, believe it or not, I like to be the center of attention sometimes. So I got up and gave a little speech about Gary Pollock's mom. And
I do remember that.
and I said, instead of sing, I go, I'm going to sing a song dedicated to Gary Pollock's mom. And now these people were like serious about their karaoke.
Yeah,
And I went first. I like got up and went first, and I sang the song by the Commodores, Easy. But instead of saying easy like Sunday morning, I changed it to easy like Gary's mom. And I hit every note. It was perfect.
That was so bad.
It was good. And then
I laughed a lot that night.
Yeah, that was a fun night.
And then somehow the next thing I know, me and this gentleman are singing RESPC, Respect by Aretha Franklin.
Oh gosh.
It happens. But that was
probably
a
little bit of drinking went on, and so that probably
the best
helped
part of that night for me was one of my friends had this like blank stare and staring at me, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "Woody Itson bought me a beer." He's just like an 80s fan, like a kid that was just like, "Wait, you guys are hanging out with Woody Itson?" And he was like nearby, so he showed up and he's like, "Woody Itson bought me a beer." This is like, he just wanted to hold it and like take it home with him. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that Joe, that ties into the whole theme of the show, because we're talking about, being inspirational. So how many beers have you bought over the years, Woody?
Yeah, how many lives have you changed?
Probably a few. Probably a few.
How about you, Chris?
I bought a lot of things for people over the years, so it's just
Chris, with inspiration, like you got this the new Flatland Assassins, and that's taken off, and being more inspirational to all the riders. So what are some stories for you for inspirational moments?
Man, there's quite a bit of them. I could say recently I was at out in Colorado at the Battle in the Rockies.
Yeah.
And Matt Wilhelm comes up to me and he was like, "Hey man, you're not gonna believe this, but my sophomore year I had the center spread of You and Ride magazine in my locker hanging there for inspiration." And I'm like, that was just, just to hear things like that, from Wilhelm and Mickey Goitis, those guys. So, lately I've been trying to spread a lot of love and giving back to the community, and hooking people up with gear, and just to see their faces light up and get super stoked, just showing them love. And it's been especially me not riding for a long time with my knee blown out and having that surgery and kind of being away from the riding scene for a little bit and raising my daughters, coming back and working my way back, being around all the riders again and feeling that love of the community, and just the stoke, like being around that just literally like reignited the passion in me for riding and just being around the brotherhood. And it's been amazing. Like, I'm just trying to just keep pushing and keep stoking people out. And 51 now, we older riders still trying to be a good example out riding. And it's cool to have people go, "What?" Like, this is funny. It was the York Jam last year. I had a guy, because I was out of the scene for so long, I had a guy come up to me, and I had the York Jam shirts. You know the story. This guy comes up to me and he goes, "Man," he's like, "Dude, you know who you look like?" I was like, "No." He's like, "You look just like Chris Young." And I was like, "Man, you've been out of the scene for a minute when somebody says you look like you." So yeah, it's been amazing. Like, I'm trying to get involved in so many events and stuff, sponsoring the AFA and this Rockstar Jam coming up in Houston. I'm trying to get Flatland Assassins inserted in that, give back to the community, and everything.
And you're doing the woodwork too. You're going to sponsor the woodwork. So
yes, and I'm sponsoring the woodwork. Yes. Speaking of that, is who's all going? Is Ray's going?
No,
I'm gonna try and go next year. Woody's gonna pick me up and we're gonna head out.
Is Woody going?
Woody's not going.
Woody's gonna go.
Maybe
I talk to Woody like every other day, dude. He's going. We're gonna go golfing, but I'm just gonna drive the little buggy around, and I'm gonna bring marshmallows and throw them on the. I'm gonna throw marshmallows on the greens. That's not frowned upon anymore.
What do you even call it?
What's that?
You don't talk about BMX. You talk about Matchbox cars, don't you?
Oh yeah. Woody has a big collection of Matchbox cars.
No, Hot Wheels. You got to get that right. I don't mess with
that's right.
Hot Wheels.
Joe,
come on, we know it's Hot Wheels.
Who were we talking to?
He knows what button to push. He knows.
Who were we talking to the other day?
It's like calling your Flatland bike a 10-speed, man. What's up with that?
Right.
Or even worse, like calling it a scooter.
A scooter, yeah.
A scooter.
Hey, Chris, I just wanted to tell you, when Haro did those bikes and they put our names on the back, that was in 2012, the reunion. And I remember getting that frame and I was like, oh my gosh, and I put it together and I wrote it in the contest in AFA. I had very much the same experience when I show up at the Huff Jam and you had one of these backpacks for us.
Oh yeah.
Look at that thing. It is. So you're doing it right. You really got the class.
I can't believe Dave hasn't put that on eBay yet. That's crazy.
No, it's on eBay. It's just also sitting there.
I tried to sell Dave's water bottle.
Yeah, it didn't work.
But it didn't sell. But here's the thing. It never froze over, which is the weirdest thing.
It never froze over.
It never froze over. I noticed.
No, it had his saliva in it.
He's
such a hot dude that saliva wouldn't make
he had his antifreeze saliva.
Woody, this is what I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. You have a real star on the show right now. So Woody is here, and we've got Chris here. So let's focus on these guys. Okay.
Easy to get sidelined. It's been so long, Chris. I can't remember. I think I've seen you once. I can't even remember where it was, but like the last time that I know for sure that I saw you and hung out with you. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Uh-oh. You guys are taking a bath together? Were you with Mira the night when we played pool in the pool hall with Elle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Woody skilled me in some 9-ball. I gotta take my hats off to him for that. So
yeah, that was my leisurely time when I went back to college. From all the years you spend on the road when it's raining and you can't do nothing else, we would go play pool. And then when I went to college and I had breaks in between classes, so me and Chris ended up playing, and then Mira wanted in on the action, and I got Mira down fast and pretty deep. And I was like, in my mind, that was right around the time I was trying to get Mira to come ride for GT. And I didn't think it would be good, me drilling him for a bunch of cash. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you one chance to get some money back here. And I dumped off to him. And I looked at Els, and Els had said something about being his stake horse. And I go, look, we can play for whatever money you want, but as long as I'm not taking it out of Dave's pocket, I'm okay with that. And he goes, no, man, we're good. So.
See, I knew I was in trouble when you showed up and you had your own pull stick. I was like, shit, I had to grab a cue stick right off the wall, and I knew it was I had a good time though. It was a great time.
It was fun.
It was a huge experience to hang out with the great Woodyites, and I gotta say, Woody, you don't look like you aged a day. The guy looks
well, that's nice of you to say, but I would say about the time we played pool, you were probably a bigger name in the sport than I was.
No way. I'll never forget when I found out you were the team manager in Molterno just picked me up for standard,
Yeah.
but there were no bikes made yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna just keep myself busy until you get something going. And I got your number and I reached out to you, and this is the greatest story ever. Like for me, because I'd always be like, I laugh with my mom sometimes about this, because you know, when I was a young buck and I'd have all the magazines and I'd be like, check this out. Here's Woody. Look at Dave Norrie, you know, and you were always like a picture that I was sticking in her face, like, you know, the Porsche with the quick star in the back seat. and I called you and I'm like, what do I got to do to, you know, see if I can get picked up? And you're like, you got a demo? And I just so happen to have a demo, and I sent it to you, and I get a call back. I don't know, it was like a week later, and my mom yells, hey Chris, Woody Itson's on the phone. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
And
back when you had to use regular phone lines to call people.
yeah, regular phone lines. And yeah, that was awesome. So you're like, man, why didn't you tell me you were this good? I said, I didn't, you know, because I can only imagine the shit Woody would hear when people were calling and all the people, I'm this good and I can do all this. And I was like, I just sent him this video.
Dude,
and
ask Terry Adams about calling me. Dude, nobody's ever called me more than Terry Adams.
Well, he's known for that, right? That's what Terry does.
When I heard that story, I tagged Woody every day on Instagram for like months.
Yeah, I know you did, Joe.
See, he remembers.
that was
How can I forget?
That was awesome though, because we ended up man, that was a great tour. We went to China for a month, and we were in like Shanghai and Beijing, and I got to go with some great guys, Nollie and Dave Smith, and it was just rad. Like we went a little stir crazy over there, because I just remember going on the street with 100 US cash, and I was like, what can I get for this? To transfer money, and I got like 2 million yen or something. I don't know. I was like, dude, I was a rock star over there. Like a whole month, I couldn't even spend it. It was like I was just making it rain everywhere, and it still had money.
Yeah,
it's a little different now, though. I mean, because you know, the U.S. dollar really ain't shit.
I'm not sure I
but
would go over there right now and hang out, and you know, but
Joel Shellhorn is over there right now. He's at like these, he's doing these like amusement park shows, like a SeaWorld or whatever. And he entirely overacts. It's like an adventure thing where he gets into fights, and they set him on fire and put him on a jet ski and stuff like that. And he is having like the time of his life doing this.
Does he get paid extra for that?
I think so. He for Master of Creativity, he put on his fire suit and they lit him on fire, and he did like a
That's cool.
switch hand steam.
What year was that, Joe? Was that recent?
I want to say it was like 2016 or 2017. I think it was the first. It was like you're setting yourself on fire. That's the trick.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go that. I'm willing to do some extra, but I'm not sure I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I've done the fair amount of the SeaWorld shows too, but I never lit myself on fire.
Did no one set you on fire at SeaWorld, Dave?
No. And I didn't ride on the back of Shamu's back or anything like that. But
yeah,
that would have been rad.
Kill you
Gumby on.
Shamu Gumby.
Yeah.
So Woody, are you still just riding once a year? Because like I noticed you post usually on your birthday, and you do a little birthday session. Is that pretty much for your riding?
You know, I could lie to y'all and tell you, but no, that's pretty much it. You know, I mean, other than like if I have some friends that I play golf with over the years that somehow figured out, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody told me when I mentioned we were talking about golf, and then they said, yeah, he goes, I play with my buddy Woody, and he goes, oh yeah, man, I knew a guy, and, you know, and then it turns into like, wait a minute, the guy you golf with is that guy? Like, hey, can I give you a magazine to get signed, or can I bring my grandson over? Or so when they do that, they'll bring their, you know, if they bring one of their nephews or their friends over, I'll go do a couple tricks for them. You know, I think Keith King stopped by randomly a handful of years ago, and you know, it's just for so long I had dealt with like a bad back, you know, from just, it just wouldn't heal. It just never got better. And then I shattered my left foot right when I signed my Diamondback contract. And so I went on tour instead of getting surgery. So I ended up getting surgery a lot of years later. But by then I've already got arthritis pretty bad in my left. So like my left foot only moves like 50% of what my right one does side to side. And so when I put it on an axle peg, it feels really bad. I mean, like it's very uncomfortable. And after I ride for a little while, it starts to loosen up a little bit, but I can't really do much on it. And like whenever you try to do like death trucks, dump trucks, I mean, that's my left foot's the one down on the peg.
Yeah.
And you know, and then once you throw that in with, well, it's either going to be in the 40s or it's going to be 100 here in Texas, because we get about 3 weeks of, you know, 70s and 80s temperatures. You know, it's just like the desire to do it. And there's nobody around here to ride with. I mean, there was some times like when I was doing shows with the team, and I would take my bike when I would go out on the road with like Scott Ditchfield and Morgan Wade and those guys. And it was fun, you know, like I would ride with Scott a little bit once in a while, you know, and I even did it with Trevor at GT, you know. We would go out in the back and I would ride. And of course, the problem was every time I got on a bicycle, Nollie had a camera in his hand and he'd be waiting for me to crash. Like, he wanted a picture of me falling down in the worst way. And I remember we were in the back of GT one day, and I think he had Robert's GT show. So that's a small bike. I mean, we designed that for smaller riders, really crazy geometry. So it was tiny, you know? And Nollie said, like, I'll bet you like $20 you can't do a hang nothing. And I said, okay. You know, so I grabbed Robert's bike. I rode it for like about 60 seconds. And there was Nollie with his camera. And I got up into it and I rolled about 10 feet and I put it back down. I rolled away and I said, you so wanted me to crash. Stay up.
Wow.
And I actually have the photo of that somewhere, of me doing that, because he took the photo and gave it to me. You know, but he would, anytime he caught me in a weird position, whether I had a mop in my hand, getting ready to clean up an area for a show, you know, he would take the picture. Like I heard for years, people would go to his house and Nollie had a picture of me holding a mop with like a headset on, because we were doing a corporate show and it was on his refrigerator, you know?
So
So good. Well, Woody, you seem like the consistent rider out there. In my mind, it's always like, I never saw you crash. I mean, do you have any crash stories?
do you ever touch?
That's Woody is.
Yeah,
No,
dude,
he doesn't crash. That's
Yeah,
Woody.
I do all the touching for Woody. Woody just
Everybody
filters all his touches through me.
everybody touches. I mean, that's just the way it goes. I mean, that was, I think in the early years of freestyle, Dave, I don't know how it was for with
Don't
you and
shoot
your
him on
guys,
run.
but when me and Martin would ride together, like we would try to do a whole show and not make a mistake, you know?
Yeah.
That would be like it. And then if we did, then the other one would hear it from the other one, you know?
Yeah.
And so we would always have a good time with it, but man, I ate it bad. I'll tell you what, we were in Maryland on the Hutch tour, but it wasn't a Flatland. Like I don't ever remember crashing bad in a Flatland show, but I did on vert, and the ramp was set up over vert, and I still was running Z rims at the time. And I did like a 6-foot air, and I was coming in front wheel first, which didn't seem to bother me. But then when I realized I went past the top part of the transition, I knew I was in trouble, and my hands were still on the bars, and all I had to do was time to turn my head, because like all I remember was like my front end hit, my hand punched the ground, I turned my head sideways, and I didn't go to sleep, but I remember like I heard my ears ringing, and I literally saw stars. Like if you've ever hit your head hard enough, you can relate, because it goes black for a second, and then it's like it's like there's like sparkly lights. I guess that's what they mean when they say you saw stars. So I hit my face hard enough on the left side that it took the or not hit the right side. So it took the skin off of here down and knocked my big middle tooth out and pushed the other one in.
Oh,
and I sat up, and then there was, the first thing you do when you fall is you move your tongue around, and tongue went through, and next thing I know, they're taking me to the hospital, and and then probably I would guess over the next handful of years, like I think this is bridge number 7. So I broke out my other one 5 times, and then the 6th time, I could feel it come loose. I didn't hit it on anything, but yeah. I mean, and realistically,
Rob Nollie wasn't there with the camera.
What's that?
Rob Nollie wasn't there with a camera.
Rob Nollie was not there with the camera. I think that was probably like in 80. I want to say like 84, maybe 84, 85. But I did that. I did that in front of like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. So I mean, when I went down in flames. But
yeah, I was gonna say it sounded like when you went down, you went down.
Should have had a full face.
I mean, going forward, that's what led to my, kind of my, earlier on, because I had hit my face before doing 720s. Because you go high and spin so fast, and then sometimes you would be so high that when you landed, it would just pull your hands down, and I remember hitting the side of my face. So when I lowered the handlebar, it gave me just that, just enough to where I never hit my teeth on my bars anymore. So that's really why my handlebars have a lowered crossbar.
So to avoid your teeth.
To avoid your face.
Yeah, because that sucks. Going to the dentist sucks. I mean, there's just no 2 good ways. I even, you guys remember the old, well, Dave, you probably do. Well, I know Chris will. Remember the old, what was it, the Hoffman Estates BS contest?
Yeah.
That was in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, right? It was in that warehouse. I remember I showed up on Friday night, and I had this weird feeling in my mouth. And I was there with the team, with Trevor and Nollie and probably PC and Parker. And I remember thinking like something didn't feel right. But, I went to bed Friday night. I woke up the next morning, and my left eye swelled shut. And I didn't know what was going on. And so I went and stood in the mirror and took my finger, and where I had knocked my tooth out, I'd had my gum had swelled up, like I had an infection in it somehow.
Oh, man.
And because I'd recently broken the bridge out and they fixed it. Well, they didn't clean it out, I guess. So I had to go that day, and they had to open up my gum. I even can tell you the dental term because it sucks so bad. It's called an apical anterior. And they have to open up your gum and drain it. And then they numb me up. They had to break my bridge off, put a new one on. And when I showed up for the contest that afternoon, and everybody thought I was wasted. and I was supposed to meet with Robert Castillo that day to talk to him about coming to work for me at GT, and he thought I was wasted. Like everybody was like, "What's up?" I mean, I was gassed up. I was Novocained up. I had all this packing under my lip. It was miserable.
Damn.
So I can't tell you anything like that happened at that contest. Like I was so, other than that was the one where that Canadian kid stole the cop car.
Yeah.
And John Parker jumped from the balcony of the 2nd floor down to the grass on the ground below on a bet. Those are the only 2 things I can remember.
Wow. Who stole the cop car?
What was it? Wasn't it a kid named Darcy?
Oh, Darcy?
I remember hearing this story.
Canadian Darcy? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's who it is, or it was his friend. It was one of the 2, but one of them got in a cop car and took off. And it led to a manhunt. What? Imagine that, So,
Yeah.
Manhunt.
So,
Maybe he was looking for your tooth.
Well, the good thing was we did find the tooth. They shoved it back up there, but needless to say, it didn't stick. So,
Yeah.
But anyways, well. Yeah, it's been some good times and some interesting stuff at contests over the year. I mean, I'm sure you got your fair share of stories. I mean, I used to hear them secondhand from Michael and Brian about the antics of Ron Wilkerson. So,
Oh yeah. I mean,
so
the guys-
you're actually pretty lucky to be here today, Dave.
yeah. I mean, both of them. I mean, they're great drivers, but they're insane. Like they have no limits. They would just drive down the road and see how long they could turn their lights off. Like when we're on this long straight, Nebraska, there's no lights anywhere. Turn the lights off and just pitch black, and they're just driving for as long as they can. And yeah, I don't know how we lived through all of it, but here we are. So I was also wondering about, do you remember the Venice Beach contest?
Which one?
85. So I had just turned pro.
That would be the second one, I think.
Yeah, it was the second one, right?
Yes.
And we had the meeting before the contest,
Yes.
the writers meeting, and you wanted to do 15-minute runs. I just want to make sure that I get this right.
Here's how all this stuff went down. Okay, so the previous year, we were told that we had 3 minutes to do our run in the pro class, and that was it. We were also told not to use the ramps. Okay,
Right.
Those are the only two
That's
rules we
because
had.
of Ray.
Well, I don't know if it was Ray's fault, but so 3 minutes, no, you can't use the ramps.
Right.
Said, okay, so whatever. So we all did our runs, and Eddie went out there, and it was a GT sponsored contest, and the people that worked for GT were the judges. So Eddie goes out there and does his flatland run, and then starts riding the ramps, and then he ends up taking like 5 minutes, and at one point in time he fell off onto his back, and then he got back up and being a showman. I mean, again, this is nothing against Eddie.
Yeah.
He was just doing what he was just doing.
He's just doing Eddie. Yeah, right.
So Eddie was just doing Eddie, but then they announced the results, and Eddie, I think Eddie won, or anyways, I got second.
Yeah, Joe will look it up. But
Eddie, 6 minutes into Eddie's 3-minute flatland run, he's on his back after having been on the ramp. Did I get that right? Andy won?
Well, no, he went like 5 or 6 minutes. He rode ramps. I know just at one time he had fallen down flat on the ground, like not a touch, like literally a fall. And so and I ended up getting second there. And I can't remember who won. Maybe it might have been Eddie, but I remember.
Look at 23 Mag, Joe, see if you can find it. But so it's interesting. So a year later, Woody, I just remember I had planned my routine for 3 minutes, and I had like music, and I was like dialed. And then I find out we had this meeting, but this is what I'm trying to remember. Was it 10 minutes that we ended up doing, or was it 15?
Yeah, so I'm gonna finish that story, and I'll tell you exactly how it goes right into this. So
okay,
after the contest was over, Richard Long, Todd Huffman, and Brian Skura came up to me. They all worked for GT. Yeah. And Richard said, "You got robbed." And he goes, I apologize. I mean, and I go, hey, is what it is. So later on, so the next year you were pro, and I think you were doing really good at the contest. I think you'd won a couple of them.
I won the one in Pleasanton, but no one was there really. Like you weren't there. Eddie wasn't there. Martin wasn't there. So I told so Bob Morales called me later on, and he says, yeah, that probably wasn't good what happened there. And I said, yeah, I'm done riding your contest. I said, people that work for GT were the judges, and I mean, like I said, this isn't anything, Eddie did what Eddie did, and like I said, that was just the way it was. It wasn't against him, but I said, I'm not going to go to a contest I don't have a fair shot at. So if the judges don't know what they're looking at, trick wise, then there's no point in having a contest because they don't know, And the other thing is, we were told we could ride for 3 minutes and that was it. And then we had to stop. So, I did like you, Dave. I set up my thing. So I told Bob, I said, it's just a joke. I said, I mean, realistically, you want to call yourself a pro? You should be able to go out there and ride for 10 minutes and not put your feet down all over the place and fall down and ride ramps and whatever. So he said to me, he goes, if you want 10 minutes, if that's what it's going to take to get you to come ride one of my contests, he goes, you can do it. I said, okay, I just want to be clear because I'm going to practice for this because, there was a lot of talk in the magazines or in the peripheral that a lot of the pros were saying, oh, Woody and Martin are afraid to compete.
They don't want to get beat. We don't want this, don't that. And the reality was, like, Martin was touring all the time. I was touring all the time. And, you know, so I said, okay. And I called Bob like a week before and I said, hey, we're still good with this, right? He goes, yeah, if you really want 10 minutes, I'll give you 10 minutes. He goes, I'll give everybody 10. I said, perfect. That's all I want to hear. So we showed up and we had that meeting, and I remember that. And I remember Bob making an announcement saying, okay, I'm just letting you all know that Woody wants 10 minutes to do his run. and I remember
That's cold.
And I remember somebody saying, like, really, you need 10 minutes? And I go, if you call yourself a pro, you should be able to go out there for 10 minutes. And not repeat first.
Woody raising the bar.
And it was nothing against the riders. It was just, I was really upset. And I figured, you know, I'm going to take it. I'm going to make, my goal was to make it, like, I'm here to prove a point. Like, A, I'm not afraid to ride and compete. And B, that, you know, if the judges don't know what they're looking at, I'm going to do stuff they've never seen before. And I'm going to make it obvious, you know, and that was not it, you know. And again, I could see, like, looking back now, Dave, that, yeah, it kind of does probably seem like a dick thing to do, but
No, not at all. So I'm so glad to hear
no.
the story, Woody, because in my mind at the time, I remember like, what? Like, because he presented that, like, Woody's wants 10 minutes, but you made a point. It's not like you had to use the whole 10 minutes.
No.
You had up to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just remember going, okay, Woody's going to go out there. He's going to do an infinity roll, and then he's going to do an infinity roll and spin the bars and do like every variation. And my point was like, this is a contest, not a show. Like, this is my mindset back when I'm 20.
Yeah.
But I, you know, respectfully, I mean, I got second against you, and I'm like, there's no way, even if we both had 3 minutes, that I would have beat you. I just know that. Hands down.
Well, you don't know that, but I mean, it was what it was. I mean, like I said, Dave, this was nothing against any rider or riders. It was just, like I said, when the people that are putting the contest come up to you afterwards and apologize to you and say, yeah, you got job.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of makes you feel bad, because we really back then had like one time a year to kind of do what we did. And then we took that to our sponsors, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, and like I said, there was times when I showed up to a contest and just thought I got waxed, you know? Martin rode better, RL rode better, or McCoy, whoever it was. No problems with that. Don't care. Yeah. You know, but you just, you know. So that's where that whole thing came down.
Yeah.
So
that's what I love about Wood. Put some respect on his name.
Yeah.
Put some respect on his name. And you know, Woody, where would we be without our haters, right?
That's
where would we be?
You know, to my knowledge, that might be the biggest point gap in history in a contest too.
That's awesome story, man. That is
it's so good that that's out there, that we've now shared that, because not that I was holding it, it just makes it a whole different perspective. And now Flatland contests are judged by other riders, and you have to really be on top of the game. You have to know that rider and what tricks that that are new for them, and where they're pushing it. And it's like, it's a whole different game. And we talked about it in the show before about that the AFA had basically the parents and other companies that would be, you know, judging the contest.
Yeah, and I mean, I've watched some of it. I'm not qualified to judge the kids today. I mean, I watched runs, and I think that what this guy did was more impressive than what this guy did. But again, I can't tell. Some of these transitions happen so fast now, and these guys are spinning the opposite direction, you know. And it's like, I mean, literally, I see these clips. I mean, I know you guys all got to see them. And some of this stuff looks like magic tricks. Yeah. I mean, the kid doing no-handed whiplashes, like stringing them together. Right? I mean, no hands. Like, he starts both wheels on the ground, lifts it up, and then does like 3 whiplashes, never touching the handlebars. Like, that doesn't seem like it's possible. Yeah. You know, and then you know, Marty Kulpa doing like 8 or 10 stem whiplashes standing on the stem. Yeah. You know, I mean, and it's constantly between Matthias and some of these other guys I see do these tricks. And then you'll see a guy who's not like one of the main names that you've seen before, do a trick, like, oh my God, like how's that even possible?
Like
And
video
then
games.
yeah, and then in my mind, I go, how lame was I not to even come close to scratching the surface of some of these tricks, you know?
The
Progression.
bikes are all different. The bikes are all different.
Yeah.
You know
and
what? The judging now has
Yeah.
come a long way. Like the BS series, though, that was a rough era. If you competed,
Yeah.
there was a lot of shit that happened. I mean, I had a write up in Ride magazine. I was super stoked. I had a picture next to Hoffman, and I had 2 separate runs. So I had a 3-minute qualifying run where I did completely different shit. Then the next run I did even harder, all different tricks. Because I got jacked so many times at comps. I'm like, I was like, I'm gonna step up and do what other people don't do, and because usually people would get 1 set routine and they do it in their qualifying,
Yeah.
and they do it in their final, and I remember having a flawless run, and everybody come up, Dean McCoy, dude, you won hands down, you smoked everybody. I ended up with 5th, and it was sad, man, because you would look over and you would see these guys judging, and I'm not going to name any names. I know who did what, and I watched it. They would just be, if it wasn't somebody they liked, that was a friend of theirs, you would see him looking away in the middle of someone's run and chit chatting with each other, and like, and then just throwing a score down. And like, it's just sad because some of these dudes, they're working so hard to get that spot and to win, and then just to get, you know,
Yeah, it's about,
put
hey
a bad
Dave,
taste in my mouth.
yeah, no, I can totally see that, Chris. And I mean, I remember watching some of that at the X Games take place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys remember I got in a little bit of heat for turning around and flipping off the judges tower.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's like,
it sucks, man. It truly sucks because dudes work really hard, you know, to be in that situation to win. And
yeah,
somebody, like, I remember someone, because I went to one of the judges and I was like, what place did you place this guy? You know, and it was ridiculous. It was like, well, he was 4th because Edgar is my favorite rider. Like, wait, just literally, like, so basically that dude could have went out and did the hardest shit in the world, and you would have put him past wherever Edgar was. Like, you know what I mean? Because he's your favorite rider. Like, that's how bad some of the judging was back then. You know what I mean? And like,
it happened a lot more than it should have, for sure.
It did, you know, and but you know, I learned a lot from that, from being in that situation and understanding, and then getting to judge some contests. Like, you know, I got a couple of AFA events where, you know, that North Carolina contest that was stacked, and I got to judge with Scott Powell and TJ Perry, and it was great because everybody was on point. They were focused, they were paying attention, they were taking notes, and there wasn't no discrepancies. And when the judging was done, nobody argued, nobody was pissed that somebody felt like they got robbed. It was, you know, and it was a learning curve for me too, because I've been on that other end. Like, take this shit seriously. If you're going to be a judge, take it seriously, because these guys work hard, you know?
Hey, Woody, back to your point though, like your 80, one of your 80s run today, like trying to get someone like Matthias to do it, like it would hold water for sure. We talked about this before, Joe. Like, could we get some of these top riders? Because they have, you know, a very, like, you are one of the most diverse riders out there.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
Because you did everything. Right? I mean, you raced. Didn't you race first? Is that what you first did? Yeah. So raced and ramp and jumping and like everything possible. So obviously you have, you know, a whole bag of tricks. And that's, I think, a lot of what's different with the current riders. You know, they'll be focusing on just, you know, just the spinning. Like, I remember one time I beat Dax, and Scott Powell said, well, Dave, you had so many more tricks, but my tricks are like super basic compared to what Dax does. But Dax,
for you, they're basic though. Yeah. I mean, for you, they are.
Yeah, but I still like that. You could learn them. Like you said, you learned the tail whip in 30 minutes. And I totally get that. Ray, you falling asleep? You want us to change the subject? Should we talk about something else?
What do you mean? I haven't. Why are you picking on me? I'm behaving myself.
I just got to text from Joe that you're yawning again. So
I
would
heard
never-
a couple times. I don't know if anyone else heard this, but I heard a couple farts.
No,
No, that's me
Joe
snorting.
That's Joe. He snorts like that.
Oh, okay. I was like, I wasn't sure if Ray was back there ripping it
Ah,
out.
Wait a second. So I've been
sneaking it
doing
in
this
or
for
something.
months, and people are thinking that Ray's farting.
You couldn't even hear a fart. Remember when I tried doing the beatbox and it wouldn't come over?
Oh, that was
The
so
ear-
good.
Remember it doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
Ray,
We can talk about the Palm Beach Masters if you want.
Let's do
Yes,
it.
we can.
Oh,
Let's
God.
talk about
I
it.
gotta go.
Wait, Woody, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
That actually fits with the story.
Yeah. Let's
Well,
do it.
wait, what do you want to talk about that? Because we have that other story that I've been
Yes.
dreading, and the poop in the microwave is nothing compared to what almost happened.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened at Palm Beach.
Wait,
I-
what
does
else happened
Woody-
at Palm Beach?
Has Woody
Is it true?
been briefed on the other situation?
I mean, I know about. I'm thinking about the one where they took all the furniture apart, and ruined the hotel room, and then tipped the
Yeah,
bed
this is an
frame up against,
exclusive.
and then tipped the bed frame up against the door. So when they closed the door, they couldn't open the door.
Oh my
That was
God.
every room back then.
No, that was Palm Beach too. I know that.
Yeah, I know, but something else happened at Palm Beach that didn't
Oh.
happen. That
Well,
almost
you
happened.
might have to. You might have, when you call me in a couple of days. You might have to tell me that then.
No, I
Wait
think
a
we're gonna have to
second.
tell you right now because I thought this whole time, like I've been sweating because I was like, oh my God, Woody's gonna let me have it as I tell the story, or he wants to hear what happened. But now
Well, it depends.
almost
It depends,
seems
Ray.
like-
I don't talk about everything that went on the road. Something.
No. Joe and Dave, does he not know
Wait a
about
second.
the
Is
lock?
this? Oh my God! So
Oh, I don't know if he knows about I didn't brief him.
Ray bought an
No.
elephant lock,
Okay, you
like
talk
the
way
kind
too
that you
slow.
get
Jesus
from the
Christ,
circus,
Stop.
and
Stop.
he snuck it
Stop.
in, and he was gonna
No.
put it on your frame,
Stop.
but your frame was just a little bit too long.
Okay.
Were you
Woody,
aware of this?
No.
I
It almost
stole-
changed the history, Woody, if that would have
Yeah.
happened.
So Woody, back when I was like 11, I stole a lock off a trailer at like a carnival, and I had the lock for like 5 years. Jim Delaval and I were in my garage, and he goes, "Hey, what are you gonna do with that lock?" And I said, "I don't know. I've had it forever. It's so big. I don't have the key. I don't know what to do with it." He goes, "Let's take it to
I
Florida."
don't
and put
have the key.
He goes, "Let's take it to Florida and put it on a pro's bike. Not somebody's bike." He said, "Put it on a pro's bike." So it was the second contest I had ever gone to. And when I would go
Tell
to
us
these
why.
contests-
Tell us why you picked Woody, though. There's the.
Will you let me tell us? Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
You're not
Okay.
you guys are doing
He's
what I do.
nervous.
You're not
He's
letting me tell you
nervous.
the story.
Nervous,
No,
yeah.
I'm not nervous. No,
I've never seen
I'm
Ray
totally-
like this.
I'm totally not nervous, and I think I actually told Woody about this a long time ago, and he just didn't even care because it wasn't a big deal.
Okay.
So I had this huge lock. We get to the Florida contest, and I'm roaming around the pits, and we're trying to figure out whose bike to put it on. We're like, well, there's Josh White, there's RL's bike, there's whatever, and there was Woody Itzon's, and I'm like, let's just put it on Woody's. Okay, let's go. So we went over.
Wait a minute. I have to
Wait
stop.
a minute.
Wait. You're
Why
moving
did you
right over
select
that.
Woody?
You
Okay,
said
I know. I
You-
saw Woody's bike, and I at the moment I'm going in the moment. I'm like, hey, there's Woody's bike.
okay.
Let's
okay.
put it on.
Was
Now
it the gold
later,
bike?
no, he was on Diamondback at that point.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a Diamondback, and it was definitely a Diamondback, and we put the lock on, and we couldn't put it. It wouldn't close on the frame. It was too small or too big, whatever.
They didn't have
So
the
then-
key.
So then we tried putting it on like the back chain stays, and we're like, we wanted to put it right on the frame, so like when you would do like a decade, it'd go like clink 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 clink. But so years later, when I was telling this story to Joe goes, "Why did you pick Woody?" And I said, because at that point, he was the one rider I knew the least. Like, I had never met you, I never talked to you. So I figured if I didn't have a connection. And what I mean by a connection, if I was walking through the hotel and RL said hi to me, then he was my best friend. I'm like, oh my God, that guy like said hi to me. Or if like, Martin Apparillo said, hey, what's up? Or then I have a connection. But Woody Itzen, I'd never seen him before. I'd never seen him like when he was on Hutch or anything. So he was new to me. And I was like, let's just put it on Woody's bike. So you were going to get the lock just because you were going to get the lock. It wasn't like we didn't single you out for hate. It was just the opportunity. So
because the first chance you ever got to hang out with me, I end up buying drinks. Yeah, and we end up singing.
Yeah,
you could have made the wrong decision. Yeah. Here's something better about that.
He would have regretted it. He would have regretted that.
You would have had to have done that. This would have had to been within, I want to say, like 30 to 40 minutes of the pro mains. You know why I know that would have had to been the case there? Because you had gotten there late. No, the airlines lost my bike. I didn't get my bike until like an hour before my run.
I remember that.
Right. Yeah.
And so like I had no practice. And I remember getting up on the bars backwards, doing a backwards bar ride. And Martin was rolling backwards and I ran right into him and fell. And I'm all, oh, this is not going to be my day.
And you almost had a giant elephant lock on your bike.
I think at that point, I think I'd have just said, I'm just not meant to compete this time.
Yeah,
I'm going to go home.
Did you compete though? What place did you?
I think I tied for like third or fourth with Chris Lascio, and we had a runoff. And I did a stick bitch, and he did the invisible hand, and I think those were like our good tricks. And Chris, I think Chris won the runoff. He rode really good.
See, and then again, it's because you're a true pro. You don't even need any warm up. You just can get on
I didn't have a chance. It didn't matter what I wanted.
You didn't need it.
I did spend a lot of time watching other riders ride, and I remember thinking at the time watching guys like Jerry Smith, and Derek Schott, thinking, "Oh my God, these kids are so good."
Yeah,
this is unbelievable. Like how good they were, And I don't know, Dave, if like the thoughts like when you were competing towards the end before you stopped, but I remember getting to a point where like I tried to do as many of my own tricks as I could, which I'm pretty sure that you did too, because I know you did a lot of your own stuff. So, but at some point, if you didn't start doing some of Kevin Jones and the Hood's tricks, some of the rolling stuff, I mean, it was just so against you. So I would do my power moves and my pedal tricks and my stuff that I could do. But at some point, you have, if you're not doing whiplashes and stick bees and death trucks, and you're out. And I remember like watching a contest one time, and it was after I was done riding. And at that point in my mind, like I'd made the right choice, because I remember watching Billy Newman compete against Kevin Jones and like Darren Pelio. And Kevin did some amazing stuff, but he touched a few times. And I remember watching Billy go out and do Kevin's tricks, flawless.
Yeah.
Oh. And he beat him with his own tricks. And I like in my mind, like I had learned tricks from Kevin and John Huddleston and Pete Brandt and all these other guys, but I still tried to, stick to doing my own thing. But pretty soon, it's outdated. I mean, it's like it's not going to cut it anymore. So I'm wondering, like, when did that kind of did that ever play?
Yeah, I had that feeling. And Kevin Jones actually was. I tell the story.
Yes, I love the story. Yeah,
I tell this story, and I'll tell it again because it's good timing. But I was on tour. It was probably 87, maybe 88, and I was just I was getting 8th, 9th, 10th place. I was tying with like just the bottom of the run. I don't want to mention the names because it might sound disrespectful, but like I was just
Fred Blood Maurice Meyer.
Ray, you're not supposed to mention names.
I'm sorry.
And it was that situation exactly, Woody. It was like I was doing whiplashes and steamrollers and funky chickens and locomotives, but I wasn't doing death trucks and I wasn't doing hitchhikers. I wasn't keeping up. And Kevin pulled me aside. We were actually on tour, and there was a Skyway and a Haro show. We did a double header, And Kevin, I don't know why he sensed that I was like bummed, or I don't know, he just like tuned into it, and he came over to me and said, don't ever stop doing your creative and your original style. Just keep doing that. And that was really inspirational
That's
for me,
awesome.
because I did. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really care about contests. Haro didn't care so much about contests. I mean, they were like, we want to send you there, but you do your best. So I continued to compete and continue to get 10th, 11th, and 12th places. And now I went back and started competing when I hit 50 and I did the AFA, and I'm in a master of creativity, and I worked my ass off trying to come up with new tricks. And they're all original, all different. And I still did pretty well. I did like, out of 30 riders, I got 15th. And these are like the current master of creativity in 2000.
Oh, I've seen them.
19.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with the long game and stick with, stuff that's original, and maybe I'll never learn a hitchhiker,
Hey Dave, have you ever tried like doing a death truck on an 18-inch or a 16-inch?
No, I've tried it on a 20, but it didn't get close.
So Dave, Kevin did the similar thing to me when I started riding again after my knee surgery.
Yeah.
So he's like, I think I had a Strahler at the time, towards the end of my riding at that time before my knee was really bad. And just when I switched over to that bike, it didn't feel comfortable. I don't know, decades were weird on it. And so I come back riding, and I'm talking to Kevin, and Kevin's like, I'm sending you a package out, and new Big Daddy and parts, and Hoffman sending me stuff. And I'm like, fuck, like now I really got to ride, because these two dudes are like fucking flowing me. And it just was like super inspirational. Like, man, like, I'm just getting, this is what I was talking about, the stoke, like people like my peers or me being a peer to other guys and giving stuff, like it reignites that passion in you, and Kevin said, well, what are you going to do? Ride. No. He's like, you going to be doing the pumping shit?
Hey, do you guys think we can talk to the cricket for a little bit?
I said,
Cricket.
There's a cricket under your chair. Woody, don't you hear it?
Oh, that might be the gardener's. Like, it might be the gardener. Is that really a cricket?
I hear cricket.
I'm outside now. They're doing the lawn. I gotta go indoors?
What's really funny is you're in Texas, and Buddy Holly was from Texas. And when they started his band, it was Buddy Holly and the Crickets, because they were doing like a demo. And in the demo, while they were doing the song, they heard a cricket in the back. And that's why they're called Buddy Holly and the Crickets.
Let me go inside,
so
now we got a gardener going, so you're probably going to be hearing lawn mowing.
Oh no, don't worry, we're fine.
What do you
in the blower? And
did the butler open the door for him, or did he do it himself?
I don't have a butler.
Yeah. Anyway, so Kevin hit me with that, man, and it was a good perspective for me, because he was like, "Listen, man, just do you, have fun, do you know what I mean?" And that helped me kind of get my gears back in motion, you know what I mean? Because it was like I really had to start over from rehab and my knee, so it was a process back to where I'm like, I'm basically crawling now. Like, I can't just get on my bike and bust out and do a bunch of hard shit. Like, I literally had to relearn hang 5 and get the bike control back in the feel. And especially, like, if you don't ride for a while, you forget how quick everything's happening, like in real time when you're riding, you know what I mean? So like that rhythm and the timing and everything, you got to get caught up to it, So Kevin that was like spot on, you know what I mean? So I'm like, what these guys are doing now, each guy has different niches, you know what I mean? But the guys now, a lot of them are in small areas in tight circles.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to conform myself to moving in that direction. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still going to kind of keep my style, and I'm going to try to shrink it down, because most areas you go to compete are 40 by 40 or smaller. Yeah. So like Bentonville was rough, like for me, because luckily enough, Terry, 2 weeks heads up, was like, the stage is 40 by 40 plus riders up there. So it shrinks it down a little bit more. So when I was up at Shanghai, I'd measured a spot out. So I just kind of was like riding in a circle within that square to like get into the feel of that. So everything's just shrunk down. Like,
You can bring the hopping tricks back, Chris.
What's that?
You can bring the hopping tricks back, bro.
Yeah.
Well, the cricket. What about the cricket? Do you remember
The
doing the
cricket's at your
cricket?
house,
Or the
Dave.
grasshopper.
Yeah, cricket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Cricket's
thought
at your
cricket,
house. I can hear.
the
I think it's at
grasshopper,
your
but
house.
isn't there a cricket where you roll it, or is that?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember, Dave.
Yeah, okay.
I just
Joe,
remember the grasshopper was big
what's a
bumps.
cricket and a grasshopper?
I like to see a contest.
Grasshopper's
Cricket's
rolling
like a-
backwards.
Yeah,
Cricket
and,
is
but you go back
Front
wheel,
wheel
front
on the
wheel.
ground.
It's like a
It's
worm.
It's literally a
It's like the
jump.
worm, doing the worm on the bike.
No, but
Yeah.
one of them you jump up and one of them you
What-
roll.
One of them you hop back like that.
But I know what you're
Another
talking
one
about
you
when you
go-
just pull the front wheel and you roll, stop, roll, stop.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the
Cricket is
grasshopper's
when
really
you're hopping.
balanced.
The grasshoppers, I
cricket's
always break my center pole brake.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
common one.
That was always a good time when those things let go.
Yeah, no
I
doubt.
think what we should do is have a contest.
Old
In-
school tricks.
To see in the smallest area who could,
Oh, I will kill it. I will.
My
kill
money's
it.
on John Huddleston.
like, whoever can ride in this closet wins.
Dude,
Yeah.
I did a show on a 10 by 10 area in the rain at Cornhook Jam, and it was on stage. It was like 10 by 10, and I could do like almost all my tricks, because I'm used
That's
to.
ridiculous.
balance.
I don't even think I could get up on two wheels in 10 feet.
Hey Woody, can you take us down to the vault and let's see your collection of
Oh,
Hot
shit.
Wheels?
Okay, yeah, hang on. Let me
Show us
unhook.
show us the Hot Wheel that if somebody broke into the house and they had a gun and said, "Give me your best Hot Wheel." There's got to be one. You can't say, "Well, there are one of these three." How about this? Nobody's at home except you, and the house is on fire, and you're completely paralyzed, but these two fingers, and you can only pinch one car and get out of the house. Which car are you
Which
pinching
one would
to
it
get
be?
out? Oh, this
Ray,
is exciting.
where do you come up with this stuff?
He wants
Yeah.
to know this. So, what's car when he burglarized your house to get?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I want to know which one. When I stop by and visit, I want to know which one.
You don't know
Wow.
which one. Yeah.
Is it in like a special case, like a Super
I'm trying
Bowl
to-
ring?
I'm
You
trying to
open
see
it
how
up
I
and
can
there's
do
a
this. I'm
light.
not very
music.
adept at
How are
this.
they
No, this is-
sorted?
This is good. It's good. It's good, Woody. It's working.
See that one right there with the little board sticking out of the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only one exactly like that in the whole world.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
I could
Was
sell
it
that and go
about me
buy-
when I was
I
born?
could sell that and go buy a new car.
Was
Really?
that? Was
What,
that?
wait, a new car that you
Yeah,
could drive?
one-
You mean a new
well,
car
hold
you
on.
could drive, Woody?
Like a Honda
like-
Civic or a
yeah,
Lamborghini?
I'm not talking about shopping at the Kia dealer either.
Wow.
So Woody, was
Yeah.
there only one manufactured, or is there only one that has survived?
So no, what they did is like this one, the yellow one where my finger's pointing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a production one. That's called a Beach Bomb. So this is the production version. This is the non-production version. So this non-production one, they made maybe somewhere between 50 and 100 of them. And they only went to employees, and they were in various different colors and shades. Nobody really seems to know how many exactly were made, but they never went into production. But right now, the most expensive one of these that has sold went for $100 grand.
Wow.
Wow.
God, dude.
And how did you acquire it? Like, where were you when somebody was like, how long ago was it when someone's like, hey, blah, 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 there's that one, you bought it? Was it a long time ago or recently?
Yeah, I got it from Gary's mom.
Damn! Oh, man. Then that means it was
Oh,
mine.
yes.
That means it was mine because it usually was two. You have to give her two to have a good time.
I ended up pretty crazy story. I ended up buying the collection of a doctor who was a pain management specialist who got busted by the FBI
Oh, shit.
for
Good story.
selling prescription narcotics without a prescription before it was a thing. And the guy was in Louisiana, and he had like $1 million Hot Wheel collection and like $1 million car collection. And he had a game room with all these crazy games, and he had a mechanical bull with one of the saddles from Seattle Slew that won the Triple Crown. You know, I mean, it was like the story when the people in like in the Hot Wheel thing that know the story, like when we told them, like they're like sitting there in just utter disbelief, but people that had been there and seen what he had knew what happened. But like when I was at this guy's house buying this collection, we had to clear it with an attorney. And I actually, to buy the collection, I wire transferred money from my bank to an attorney.
Wow.
Instead of giving it to the guy. And then when me and my buddy were boxing all the cars up and stuff, he was sitting there with like a 12-inch Bowie knife, like combing his hair.
What?
The attorney or the doctor?
The doctor.
The doctor. Wow.
Yeah, the guy.
Oh, he probably killed himself as soon as you left.
No, he didn't. But he ended up. And the other thing that happened is that the guy he got caught with at a hotel was like a convicted felon, and he had a firearm, so he wouldn't have like allowed to have that. And they ended up like it took a long time to get everything straightened out, but it was like all bargained down to whatever, and it was crazy. But with like any collectible, like I got buddies that collect comic books, you know, and different things. And some of the stories I've heard, like you like shake your head, like, wait, what? And so every hobby's got them, just like, you know, somebody putting a chain on your bike at the deal, or flipping a rental van over, or, you know, but
hey, what picture is that, Woody? What picture is on the wall there?
So that's my first photo from.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I totally remember that.
Big O Day. That was like 1981 when I was riding for Bassett.
Is that an error, or are you popping out?
Fly out.
Yeah, it's just flying out of a bowl, like probably, I don't know, 10. Sometimes I would get like 10, 12 feet up in the air.
No wonder your foot's all messed up.
Are you landing on top of that building? The fuck?
No. So you see the bowl. So like you see these posts sticking out. They had these posts that were supposed to be skateboard catchers, and we cut them off. And then so we could fly out. And then one of the guys went in there and cut the bob wire out to see if we could jump over the fence, but he wussed out, and I did it once. But it was a bad deal, because as soon as I got over, I hit the wall and fell straight down, but I landed on my bike and then crashed. But,
dude, that is so gnarly.
Yeah, when you're young, you do stupid stuff like that.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that was 1981. That was like my first photo in the magazine.
Wow.
So
yeah, I totally remember that one.
Hey, Woody, you ever think about getting stem cell injections?
No, I mean, I've been to a couple specialists, and they've x-rayed my foot. And the last guy I went to like a year ago even looked at me and he goes, "What the hell did you do to your foot?" You know, and because I actually had, you guys remember the War of the Stars in New Hampshire? There was a contest, a freestyle contest.
Yep.
So
is that where you had your gold bike? That one?
Yes.
With the Mountain Dew ramps and all that? Yeah.
Yeah, I had my gold bike. And so in order to plate my rotor, they had to take the rotor apart. And once you stretch that snap ring on the bottom, it was garbage. And so I was like literally like 30 seconds or something into my run, or 60 seconds, and my rotor popped.
Shit.
So if you look in my run, at some point beyond that point, I actually did a decade with no rear brake, but I pulled on as hard as I could.
Oh yeah.
I did because back then you would have a foot on the back peg and a foot on the frame when you would do it, right?
Yeah.
So I pulled up, and like there was no brake, but it would because I mean, you know, it's bad enough having these kinds of brakes on a Z rim.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which is almost like not having a brake, but yeah,
You're
my rotor
right.
separated, but yeah, I somehow did a decade on my bike in my run. And then, but when you see like the last half of my run, like my rear brake, you can see me like trying to pull it, but it doesn't really do anything because the rotor was split in two.
Do you remember what song you rode to at that contest?
I cannot remember, Ray.
Kyrie.
Oh, Kyrie, that's right.
Must travel.
Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah,
Ray knows
it's
all
kind
this stuff.
It's the kind of stuff that I know. You know,
so I literally
Joe knew it, but he didn't want to steal my thunder.
Sing it.
Yeah.
So
You didn't want to
My
sing
throat's
it?
a little sore.
Did I sing it? I'm sorry.
I did
did.
something on my foot, and I stepped one way. I can't even remember what it was when I did it, but I did something and I stepped weird on my left foot, and I actually broke a bone in my foot. So like after my run there, I took my shoe off and you could see a big lump on my foot. And that was not ideal, but it didn't matter. I mean, even if Martin won the contest. He rode really good. In fact, he rode flawless, I think. But yeah.
Do you still talk with Martin? Do you talk with Martin or see Martin ever?
Yeah. Last couple of times I went out in California to check on my dad. I didn't the last 2 times out I didn't, but the time before that, like I would just show up at the beach and he would look at me, turn around, and somebody goes, "Damn, you look just like Woody Itson."
Yeah.
Just like Chris.
Yeah. See,
And then
fuck
Martin, and then I can hear Martin looking at him going, "Is Woody Itson standing right behind me?" And somebody else, and his buddy Paul, "Yes, he is." So we would just, on those days he really wouldn't get any practice, so we just sit around and chat and get caught up on stuff. But so here's the bike collection here.
Oh shit.
So here's so like this is one of the first bikes I ever had when I was a kid. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to hold this thing so you can see it.
Yeah.
So this is my my Schwinn Stingray. I got big scars on my knees because I thought with the shocks that you could jump really good. And this thing acted like a bucking bronco with that tiny front rear wheel and threw me over the bars, and I got jacked pretty good on that one. And then
those are wheeling machines right there. Wheeling machines.
Yeah, and then the 50-pound Yamaha moto bike.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So these things are, I wish I could see this so I could show you better, but so this is kind of, there it is. Well, a little bit better. So 50 pounds, but here's the best part. These things are a lug frame. Like you see where the lugs are?
Oh yeah.
So it's not welded at the head tube. So anyways, I was at my high school and I was probably like, I don't know, like 12, 13 or whatever when these came out. I mean, 71, I think. So I would have been, about 12. No, I would have been like 9 or 10. Jesus, 72, whenever they came out. Anyways, I was a little kid, but I thought I could jump so far because the suspension would save me. So I jumped from the blacktop, which was higher up, and then the field was down below and there was a slope. And I thought, I can just jump all the way to the field and the suspension will save me. So I went as fast as I could and I jumped off the blacktop and I missed the whole slope and I landed. And the next thing I knew, I was picking myself up off the dirt in front of a whole baseball team that was having baseball practice. And my bike snapped in 2 pieces at the lugs. The whole front of the bike flew right off.
How are your teeth?
My teeth were good though. I didn't jack my teeth that time. I didn't even really get hurt that time, other than maybe a couple small cuts on my knees and stuff. But that was kind of standard issue for being like 10, 12. Like
they weren't expecting a young Woody to fucking jump the Grand Canyon on that.
I'll tell you what, I wadded myself up in front of about 50 people. I can tell you that much. So that was not ideal.
No guts, no glory.
No guts. So and then from that I went to the 2-wheelers. So again, not as heavy as the moto bike, but these friggin' wheels weigh a ton.
Yeah.
And then so here's a Bassett Swooper. This isn't my actual bike, but this is like that picture you guys see of me in that photo from 1981. This is pretty much a replica of exactly what I did it on. So
that's awesome. Holy shit.
And then this is my BDC. So this one's one of a kind. This is the only BDC freestyle frame they made like this with like a Campanella rear end on it. It's got super thick dropouts.
Wow.
And kind of a semi-hokey looper end on it.
And coaster brake.
And of course, coaster brake. Yeah, see, there's the stinking, what I used to use to hold them, seat clamp, because I kept breaking. Because it kept breaking the damn straps, and then going down the Hutch. So here's, this was like the first bike I got from Hutch, racer.
What year? So give us a year stamp at this point when you got on Hutch. What year was that?
I think it's 83, right? Is that the year? Is that the year Jose did the?
Yeah. Okay, so 83. That's what I was. Okay.
If Jose did the backflip at the Grands, I was riding for Hutch at that time on Vans, sponsored by Hutch. So this would have been the first bike I got, which would have been a Hutch Pro Racer, and it had all the Hutch stuff, including these freaking pedals. You see these things?
Those bear trap pedals. Those things are so insane. I mean, they were crazy.
Bear traps.
Who would ride those? Woody? I don't understand. I never.
like
You
the
you know
kids
the
in my
dude that was
neighborhood
designing
consider
that
those
shit, man,
things
right?
so cool.
Look how big those things are.
Yeah.
That's why I can't even grow hair on my shins. Like
The
it's just
Ninja
nothing but
Star.
scar tissue. Like my
Oh
shins
my
are scar
God,
tissue.
bro.
So Woody, what was it like though getting your first bike? I mean, for you, I mean, were bikes easy to come by? Was it financially challenging? Were you well off? I mean, I kind of put you that you could get a bike whenever you wanted to, but I don't want to assume that.
No, because I mean, I grew up with parents that grew up in the Depression, you know, so like I had my Stingray and I got jacked, which I ate it. I came home one day and I just, you know, my dad like, you know, saw pictures of me like, or my mom would say, you know, Woody's out trying to like jump things and pop wheelies like Evel Knievel. So I had broken. After this, I had a regular Schwinn Stingray, which was like a hand-me-down. And my dad took me to the motorcycle dealer, and we were at the Yamaha shop, and that's when I saw that moto bike, and I thought, man, that's the coolest bike. And so that was the first time I got a bike. And then after I broke it, my parents were pissed.
Right. Yeah.
They're not happy that I broke my bike in half. And I went to the bike shop and like I was looking at like all the race bikes because they were super light. And I thought, wow, you know, I could really ride one of these things. And I could really jump far and go high because they're so light. And the bike shop owner told me, he goes, if he broke a motorbike in two pieces, he goes, he'll break every single thing we've got in here except something like this.
Yeah. Okay, so when you got your first bike from Hutch, it was a big deal in the sense of like now you got a bike that you're sponsored, right? I mean, that's
because like, you know, before, I mean, BS Bikes was like I got parts for like 10% over cost.
Okay.
You know, that was like my first kind of sponsor. You know, when you're a racer, you're paying your entry fee. So somebody says, hey, I'll pay your entry fee if you wear our jersey.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool. So that was like my first deal into that end of the deal. And then the SST thing came, and then like people don't realize like that whole first Vans tour that me, Martin, Michael and Brian went on.
Yeah.
We didn't get paid to do that.
Okay.
It was free. I mean, they paid our food, our hotels, and we got memories to last a lifetime. And one of the stops was at Hutch, you know, and that's how that whole deal came together. We were supposed to do a show outside of the Hutch factory, and it rained, so they moved our ramp indoor. We had the Vans half pipe that literally was just a half. And we did the shows that day. Me and Martin and Mike and Brian and Kelly and Beetle skateboarded.
Yeah.
And as soon as we gotten home from that trip, Everett called me and said, hey, the owner of Hutch would like your phone number. Is it okay if I give it to him? And I said, sure. And Hutch called me and said, well, you know, we talked it over and we saw all the guys ride, and we decided we'd like to have you be our pro.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Woody, I have a funny story. When I was at that race in Chandler, I just got on Haro and I was with Brian Blyther, and Hutch tried to get me to jump ship and join Hutch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that because of your doings?
Not that I remember. I mean,
he probably said, "Don't get this guy on Hutch," and they heard him wrong.
No. I mean, like in from me, like I can tell you exactly. Like I got Michael to come ride for Hutch.
Yeah, I figured that.
I got Rick Moliterno to come ride for Hutch. I got Donovan Ritter to come ride for Hutch. I got Brian Dean to come ride for Hutch, and Carl Roth.
Right. Yeah, Carl Roth.
So those were the guys that I sponsored on Hutch. And then, you know, he had some other stuff, but he might have seen you ride and said, hey, this is.
I mean, obviously I just got on Haro and I was, you know, a happy camper, but it was just so funny that he was like, hey, we got, you know, we want to bring you over. And I was like, I mean, the paint wasn't even dry on my bike yet. It was literally, I just signed the contract. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so then this is a, this chrome one. Can you guys see that? Okay. The chrome bikes. I mean, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
So that chrome Trickstar, that's one of a kind. It has a roller cam brake on the rear end. They didn't work very good. But I mean, we just didn't have time to develop it because of the bankruptcy. And then, so anyways, so we can put this to rest. So this is actually the bicycle right here that got stolen. This is my futuristic black. That's Trickstar.
Yeah, that one's so awesome.
That bike, it had the roller cam front end on it, you know. So this is the bike that got stolen when I was in New York City with Frank Skura and Rick Moliterno. And that's how the story got started about my gold bike getting stolen, is this bike was with me on tour. And what I did is I didn't have, SST hubs were super hard to come by back then. So I took the wheels off my gold bike and put it on that bike. And then Hutch gave me the gold components, and that's the bike I took on tour. And that's what got stolen. And so back then, when you were using phone booths to call people, you couldn't really set the record straight. And by the time I got back home, man, the story got so blown out of shape. It's like, whatever, and I just, I told as many people that would listen, but then after a while you forget about it. And then, so you got to fast forward decades later. I've gone to school. I've been out of the sport. I met my wife. I got married. She gets pregnant and says, she goes, "Do you know anything about where this gold bicycle of yours is?" I said, "Oh yeah, I was lucky." I said, she goes, "Did it get stolen along with all the other stuff?" And I said, "No." I said, "I actually gave it away to a friend of mine." And she said, "Could you get it back?" I said, "I guess I could call him." So I called Jeff Rugg. You probably remember him, right, Chris?
No, I don't. Jeff,
Yep,
what's his
yep.
last?
Jeff Rugg.
Yep.
He competed kind of right around the time like Billy Newman and Danny Mang.
Oh, okay.
And those guys did kind of early 90s.
Yeah.
He actually won an AFA Masters freestyle contest.
Yeah.
But his dad had me going over to his house to kind of help him learn to ride and do some tricks and stuff. And so anyways, I ended up, his dad did me a favor later on. So I ended up giving that gold bike to his dad to give to his son. I'd gone to ride for Diamondback, and, I didn't think much about it. So, I called him one day.
There's the gold bike. Didn't think much
Can you
about it.
imagine that? Like, hey, Woody Itson gave me that gold bike. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the most
Where'd you get that
iconic
bike?
freestyle bike ever.
Yeah.
And Woody just like gifted it to the kid
You
down the
roll up in
street.
a
That's
neighborhood, you're with your
crazy.
buddies in the neighborhood, like, "Where'd you get the bike?" That's sick gold bike. "Oh, Woody Itson gave it to me."
Yeah. So he rode it a few times, and then he put it away. And I said, "Jeff, do you have that bike?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You want it?" I said, "Yeah." I go, "Some of this stuff is getting pretty collectible." And so I said, "Whatever it's going to cost, it's going to cost. But my wife wants me to get it back. I'm about to have a kid, and she wants it in the family."
Wow.
So, and he only lived like 20 minutes away from me, but it probably took us 6 months before I finally ever got to his house to get there. No sense of urgency. And I showed up one day, and he goes, "Well, it's in a box and parts." So we loaded all the parts into my car, and I said, "Look," I go, how much do you want for it? What do I owe you?" He goes, "Okay, we'll make this easy. How much did you sell it to me for?" And I said, "Well,"
That's awesome.
I said, "I didn't. I gave it to your dad for helping me out with the car deal." And then, and he goes, "Okay, we're even."
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's so good.
So let me get this right. He took it apart?
Well, yeah. So in other words, he put it away it was in his parents' attic.
Oh, okay.
It was a pile of parts, just like C3PO.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like he bent the pedal cages, and yeah, exactly. It was like C3PO.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's such a
That's
good
an
one.
excellent way to put it, Chris.
Perfect,
So,
Joe.
but yeah, and then the last one is, one of my signature model Diamondbacks. This one's actually out of the box. This one's never been ridden. This one was, other than for one of my birthday shoots or something. But yeah, this one's
should put a
NOS
lock
out of
on
the
it.
box.
You got a lock on it. Did
Put a
Ray
big
get that
lock
lock
on
on
the
it?
back chainstay. Put a
Some
lock.
dick put a lock on it. I can't use it. So
Hey Woody, how many Hutch frames did you break?
I never broke one.
I had a few back in the day, and I always snapped them like up by the head tube.
I never broke one, Chris. But then
You did?
again, you were probably a little bit bigger rider than me, and you probably rode the frame a whole lot longer than I did. When I would show up at Hutch would look at my frames, and
Oh, look at that.
Is that the bike, Woody?
Yes, it is.
that's one of them. Yeah.
That's
So yeah,
awesome. Nice.
it was I just never broke them, you know. So my frames would get beat up, and then Hutch would have me give them away.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yep.
So I'd leave them at a frame. I'd leave like a frame and fork at a bike shop, and then they give me a new frame and fork.
Yeah, I would
You know?
it would just be like a stress crack, you know what I mean? And I'd see it start to crack, and before it got too bad, I was like,
I heard that they did, you know, I mean, but
before that angle piece came through, I think that you know, RL probably knows something about that re-welding stuff together in that area.
Yeah,
you don't
so
really
funny.
that area too much.
I almost had RL join the call, but he's got something going today. But yeah, that was funny.
That would have been good. Yeah, I haven't seen. I think the last time I talked to
to
RL was at the Joe Kidd deal.
Oh wow.
I mean, but I've talked to him on the phone a couple times, but that's the last time I think I saw him was the Joe Kidd premiere. But he looks like he's enjoying it, man, and he's doing it with his kid. I mean, look, if my kid, so just so you guys know, like my kids, you know, I got two of them, a boy and a girl. They're 17 months apart, and we had decided as parents we were going to let our kids do whatever they wanted to do. We would expose them to different things, but they chose their path.
Yeah.
That was it. So like my daughter played volleyball, soccer, you know, I taught her to ride a bicycle. My son, taught him to ride a bicycle. He played baseball, basketball, football, volleyball, golf. Took him out to like Cowtown BMX. They opened up the track for us, you know, just, you know, an hour before anybody could get there, and said, hey, you can do whatever you want, you know? And so I took him for, you know, just cruising around the BMX track to see if he had any interest. And he took a digger and he goes, yeah, I didn't really like it, you know? And then I took him over to a skate park. You know, over here, there's a little bitty one, nothing fancy. I think I posted pictures from it a couple of years ago on my birthday. And, you know, I would show up and do coaster brake tricks and all the kids would freak out. You know, first they'd look at the bike and they go, man, what is that? You know, and, but yeah, he just didn't really kind of, you know, didn't have the interest. And I thought, you know, he loved football. So man, I would play football, you know, so I had weekend sports going on for years, you know, with both of my kids and then I think, you know, in 8th grade, the whole football thing came to an end. He was the quarterback for his team in 7th grade. And then in 8th grade, it was going to tackle. And that's right. This literally like the same weekend that the whole head injury story came out on ESPN about young kids and concussions and it could cause brain damage. And my wife looked at me and she goes, we're done with football.
Oh man.
And then Alex like looked at me and says, that's okay, Dad, I want to play golf. You know, and I like if you guys had seen my Facebook over the years, like I'd been playing with him like when he was littler, and I would take him with me to these tournaments. And if I played really good and would win, I'd tell them, I go give Alex the money. So I got these pictures of Alex when he's like a little kid fanning out a bunch of cash.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, and he's like, can we do this again?
Yeah.
And now he's better than I am, you know.
Well, and you shared that story too when you got a hole in one and you like walked away, you didn't even think about the ball, and he went back and like, Dad, like, what about the ball, right?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, that makes about as much sense as me giving my gold bike away and some other things that I've done in my life. And you know,
so Woody, how did you present to your son that you were famous? Because like RL never told Dylan, and James McGraw tells his kids every day since they were, you know, before they could speak. So where do you stand on this?
That's the range.
So true story, I was probably dating my wife for a couple of months, and one day she looked at me and we were at dinner and she's all, when were you going to tell me about all this bicycle stuff? And I said, well, what bicycle stuff are you referring to? And she goes, you know, you're all over the internet. And back then, like the internet was pretty new. I didn't even know what the internet was, really. She goes,
what's the internet?
You're all over the internet. Yeah. And I said, yeah. I said, well, you know, I rode bikes for a living, you know, and then I had a drink and I wanted to talk about her. And so she kept probing, and over time, so as the kids got older, like I don't have any trophies in my house. Like you know, they would break. I had a ton of them from racing, you know, and then
dust collectors.
What's that? Yeah, they were dust collectors and they would break. And then the ones that were good, I gave back to the old BMX track so they could reuse them. The ones that were broken, I threw away. And then when the whole pro thing came out, about being pro, that's like I don't know if you even knew about this, Dave, but this actually, RL will, there was a meeting at Wizard Publications. And it was the manufacturers, a handful of industry people, and I think like me, Martin, RL was there, maybe Buff was there. I mean, there was only a handful of riders. Eddie was there, I think, Bob Morales, and the whole discussion was, this was back right before that pro class got to be kind of a thing, and our sponsors wanted us to tour and travel, and the magazines wanted competition because they wanted something to cover. And so everybody was kind of like sitting there. And finally, I just put my hand up and I said, look, I'll be honest with you. I said, if you're going to call us pros and you want us to go out and compete for a trophy, no thanks. I got a garage full of trophies right now from racing that are paying me, that don't do me any good. I said,
Yeah,
if you want us to be to compete like pros, pay us like pros. And like everybody was like looking at me like, but I mean, like
raising the bar, see, raising the bar.
I had to, and so there were some guys that kind of, and you'll have to ask RL his take on the whole thing, because like I said, it was so long ago, but there was a thing about maybe us just doing shows and promoting the sport, but it's like, how are you supposed to do both and compete and practice and all the other stuff? Jackie. Sorry, my wife.
So you invented pros getting paid.
I wouldn't say I invented it, because BMX pros were getting paid, but I damn well spoke up about us not competing for trophies.
But that's pretty awesome. That it kind of it takes balls, but it also takes brains. Where you're like, look, man, we're going out there and doing shit, and I'm gonna leave this. I'm gonna be on the airplane taking home a trophy. I want my, I'd rather have $700 or $1,000.
I was friends with some of the racers, and I used to race, and like, just to give you an example, so the Orange YMCA was like the #1 BMX track in the nation. It was right by my house, and I used to go out there, and I actually turned a pro. And so they had this thing called 150% payback. So you put like a $10 entry fee, and then they would match it with another $5, and we would get 2 gates of pros. So sometimes we would have like 250 or $300 in a pro main event. And this is like 1981, 82 timeframe. So I could go out on a Friday night, put $10 in or $15, whatever it was. And if you won that pro main, you could make like $100 to $150. I mean, I was working at Der Wiener Schnitzel when I got sponsored by Bassett, and I'm thinking, if I go fast enough, I can make more money racing.
Where was Rob Nollie with the camera then?
it was like minimum wage, Woody, at that time was like $3.25 an hour or something.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember getting like a nickel raise because I did so good. Yeah, right. And they're like, hey man, you're a great employee, and I'm like,
here's a nickel.
Yeah, here's another nickel an hour. Yeah, now go clean the French fryer. So I even remember the name of those cheapskates that paid me too. Fred and Trudy Guy. That's too funny. But God. Anyways, yeah, it was humiliating enough to wear the brown pants and that friggin' fold-out hat.
I could picture your wife. I could picture your wife on that 7th date going, so let's see, what do you went from the Wiener Schnitzel to a pro freestyle guy? That's pretty awesome. What else are you not telling me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's a weird deal, but I remember that whole meeting, and there was a big dialogue and I could see merits to both sides. Do we want to just be showmen and out tour and promote the sport, or do we want to practice to compete? And so, but and then that was like the other thing too. I think like I remember, like, I don't remember what the money was at those contests. I think if you won finally, like at a contest, it was like $200.
Yeah, that's what I'm remembering. Something like
that.
I know,
okay, like 2 bills, right?
Yeah,
So
and you get photo contingency. So, and then sponsors would match it usually, and then you get photo contingency. But and Ray would always compete for the the photos in the magazine, and he always
Yeah. Ray was a photographic darling, bless his heart.
Yeah.
Ray
man, you
always,
gotta be good
Ray
at
always
something.
took Rich Segur's
Rich
photo
Segur.
spots.
Rich Segur had to get a job at Wiener Schnitzel because I was getting
Like,
More
dick
coverage.
photos in Freestyle magazine.
Yeah.
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 So it was yeah, it was a weird deal. But I remember when Hutch did the NFA and he was going to try to do a contest series, but that was like Randy Bowser that wanted to do that.
Right.
And so I told Hutch, I go, look, I go, first thing, Hutch, I go, number one, no trophies. Number two, first place can't be $200.
Yeah.
So he goes, okay, I'll make first place $500.
Yeah.
I said, now we're talking, you know, because I think back then, like if you want an ABA national, like I think first place pro money was somewhere between like $750 or $1,000 or, you know, but I wanted them to like take us seriously. And I figured if they were going to listen to us, then, and they were going to have us do these contests and, you know, have these people fill these auditoriums, that we should be competing for something that's, you know, more than, hey, that attaboy, here's your trophy, you know, and here's, you know, $50 or whatever. So,
Right.
so, but anyways, that's kind of, yeah, I remember that whole thing at Wizard. I remember, in fact, I talked to Brian Skur about that not too long ago. He was asking me some questions about it, but yeah, so that was just some of the early stuff, you know, when I look back and stuff, but I never saved any trophies. So yeah, I think my wife was actually the first one, Dave, to kind of mention to the kids that I was somebody.
Okay.
Because like I said, if you'd have come into my house before I met my wife, you would have never known I rode a bicycle.
Oh,
you
wow.
know,
Interesting.
and but I had some magazines and tubs because so much of my stuff got stolen. You know, when I went away to college, it kind of was deflating to me, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hadn't given away my gold Trick Star and I hadn't given away that futuristic black one to two good friends of mine, one of them went to a childhood friend, I would have never, those bikes would have been gone with everything else.
Yep.
And I mean, other than a couple of things with some hubs, and it was pretty much all stolen except for my uniforms. I got a bunch of my old uniforms, at least the ones I didn't give away.
Who'd you give the Porsche to, though? Was that?
So that was never my Porsche. That was Hutch's Porsche. If you notice, it's got a Maryland plate, just for the record. That was never.
Oh, right.
It was Hutch's car. So, but
I'm missing the boat. I need to rent a supercar for a Flatland Assassins ad.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, we'll talk
Yeah.
about this.
All right.
yeah, I
Hey,
did
Woody,
waste some money on some
Woody.
other cars, but not on a Porsche.
Yeah.
Woody, did you,
Name some of the cars that you had somewhere between like 80, from like 83 to 1990. What cars did you have?
Okay,
I want to say that you had a Miata and some type of Volkswagen Scirocco as my
I had
guess.
the craziest Scirocco anybody ever saw.
See?
In fact,
I
when
knew it.
people would look at it, they didn't even know it was a Scirocco. They thought it was a Ferrari, a Maserati. I mean, I had.
Was it white?
No, it was black. I cut the roof
Black.
off, had a custom tail made. I had a BBS body kit that was molded in, no door handles, $2,500 Alpine stereo system. It had a Callaway Stage 2 turbo system in it. I mean, you want to talk about pissing through some money? I was just flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah, we all did it, Woody. We all did it. Like, I was into
Yeah.
the
I
truck.
love
You
it.
know, I had the the truck with the $2,500 system that got stolen every 6 weeks. You know.
Yep. So my Scirocco though would blow the doors off a Z28 Camaro like it was like it didn't even have a chance. And I remember guys pulling up to me at the next light going, "What the fuck you got in that engine?" You know, and I'd say it's a Callaway Stage 2 turbo system running 13 pounds a boost. It was turbocharged, intercooled headers, exhaust. I mean, it was done. Different cam, different throttle body. I mean, you know, it was 120 probably. It was probably 120 horsepower spec engine from Volkswagen, probably putting out over 200.
What could it do
at the
against
time.
the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe?
I never. We didn't have one to race, Joe, but. You know, I'm just saying back then my
the Thunderbirds
my record
slow,
was
bro.
pretty good. But,
I was
so
in that
I had
Thunderbird
the
coupe, by the
Scirocco.
way.
I had a black Jetta. Oh, and the wheels, by the way, I gold plated them on the
Nice.
Scirocco. In fact, when I used to cruise Hollywood, people used to come up to me and try to buy drugs from me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like a pusher.
Didn't
Man.
somebody
Yeah,
have a
they thought I was-
Miata though? Didn't you
No.
or one of the other
Yeah,
pros have like a trick?
Yeah, I got a Miata first year they came out.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Had a
That's what
white
it was.
Miata, had a black Scirocco, had a black Jetta, Had a blue Toyota mini truck that was slammed on white Ronal wheels. What else? And then over the years, like I've had, like the Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT8. That thing was a lot of fun. Had a Honda S2000. I've had a lot of stuff. I bought way too many cars, Ray.
We got to do a Factor Freestyle, the Cars edition. Because like I remember, like RL had a bunch of cars, Dominguez had cars.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the like when you were a kid, and like you'd be looking at the magazines and it'd be like, dude, look at Woody Itzon's car, like look at RL's car, look at Dominguez, look at Eddie Fiola. So cars and bikes kind of go.
Eddie had some pretty cool cars, man. I will say Eddie had some, Mike had some. I mean, there's a lot of stories in there with cars. There are a lot of car stories in there.
Joe, you know what you
end
got
up
to
with
do?
Mira's old Saline from the Road Champs deal?
Yeah, they one time we were in Greenville and we were sitting there at dinner and we went through every car that Dave had from the time he moved to Greenville till the whatever day we were there. And at that point he had 16 different cars, and about 7 of them he had traded in before their first oil change. And so like the joke was he'd be driving it around and then he traded in when the ashtray got full. And he'd be like, I need another car. But yeah, I had that Saline for probably 6 or 7 years, and I rarely drove it. It was hard to drive because it was like a race car.
Yeah.
And I didn't drive it much. I went on one hell run with Brian Blyther where I say we almost died, but he said everything was fine. But that was a fun car.
That sounds about right with Brian.
Yeah, that's about it with Brian. If you're driving with Brian, that's just how it goes.
Joe,
I remember.
you know what you're gonna have
Chris,
to do?
let's hear it.
You're gonna have to do some a tribute to Woody on footprints in the spam of him in the Hutch with the gold plated Hutch in the back of the Porsche, and put
It wasn't the gold one though.
Pimping ain't easy.
This is exactly.
We'll have to do it. You gotta
And
do it.
C3PO in it too.
I'm on it.
Yeah, you're on it.
Yeah.
Hey Woody, did you ever get to see my tribute to you with the gold level I had made?
I did see something about that a long time ago.
Yeah, I had a gold level fully done, and I ran into a little issue like you did. Now that you gave me some insight on how they had to take the rotor apart.
Yeah.
So this is the first ESPN contest in South Padre Island, and so here I am, fully pimped out on this gold ride, shining, and fucking could not believe it. Just got it, and I started riding it, and within a half hour, the plating started coming off the rim, from feathering the brakes and the heat.
Yeah.
And I had a serious brake issue.
Yeah.
And that was stacked. I mean, there was a ton of riders there, and I got shit flying off my rim, and I still ended up like pulling 6 out or something. So, but
it gets back to what you said. Pimping ain't easy.
Yeah, that was it was my homage to you because you're one of my all-time favorite riders. So I'll actually I got some pictures, so I'll text it to you afterwards.
That's very kind of you, Chris. I remember when Mira showed up at the X Games and I grabbed a seat clamp. I had an extra gold seat clamp. I put it on like a ring. It was friggin' giant. And I came walking up on the vert ramp. And as soon as Mira saw me, he came bolting, dropped in, rolled up the other side. Hey man, he goes, I told everybody that you were the first guy to do this. I go, Dave, man, I hope you win. I don't care.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny, the look on his face when I came walking over there, and I said, hey man, I put my hand up and had that stupid seat clamp on my finger. Mira just looked at me with laughing and
like a boss.
Oh dude, yeah, it was fun, man. I mean, there have been, I will say there have been some really, really good times over the years in the sport. There's been a lot of kind of stuff, some sad stuff too, but like I said, I think again, I chatted about Dave real quick in text with this. We're just kind of at a point in our life where, man, sometimes, friends are not here anymore and parents are either leaving or gone. And, but yeah, when I'm doing something like this, man, I mean, I laugh because I think about all the stories, and every time I see Ray, I think about some of the contests and some of that stuff, and I remember like first time going through Pennsylvania doing shows, and then going to, I want to say I went with Kevin and some of the hoods to a field where they had a couple of quarter pipes set up, and we went and rode after the show and stuff.
Amish mafia stuff.
I can't even, and I would remember even just randomly out over the years, I would hear from Kevin once in a while, and we would chat, and it was always good to hear from him. I mean, like I went from, just being an admirer to being like a fan, of Kevin's. I mean, just such an amazingly talented guy, and then when I look back to the hoods and how much influence that those, that group of writers, I hate to say kids, but you guys are technically kids because you're all a lot younger than me.
Yeah.
How much influence came out from that especially in the early 90s, because once I had retired from the bike thing, when my Diamondback contract ended, I had decided that I wasn't going to use my bike as a crutch to pay my bills. I wanted to see if I could do it on my own. And so when I went to college, I remember roofing houses that one summer. And I said, man, this sucks. That was the hardest work I ever did. So I ended up later on, Vision called me and said, hey, where you been? And I ended up going on that, doing a Vision tour and with Gator.
Oh, right. Okay.
And that's when that whole deal happened.
Yeah, right.
And I was at Cal State Long Beach at the time, going to college. And one of the guys comes up to me and he goes, you're a pro bike rider, aren't you? And I said, yeah, or I was. And he goes, did you know Gator? And I said, yeah, man, I just was on the NEC tour with him. And he goes, well, dude, that whole thing was on the news. And I was I couldn't believe it,
That's a crazy documentary if you've never seen it.
I did. I watched it.
I forget what it's. Yeah.
I did see that. Yeah. I was blown away because I remember like me and Jeff Cotter did some of it, and like Eric Nash, and we would leave at like 5 or 5:30 in the morning to go do a TV spot like in Chicago. And when we would be heading out in the morning, Gator would come walking in from the night before. Like he was a night cat. Like he was out all the time, and it was pretty wild stuff, but yeah, man, I mean, when I think about some of the things that have happened over all the years, that were related to bikes, some of the stuff that we've seen, places we've been, going out of the country, being just about every state in the US. I mean, it's, and everything, I consider myself to be very fortunate. That was really good. I mean, I see a lot of the kids today doing, traveling around the country and around the world. I mean, kind of like Nathan Panonzik. I mean, he's the closest thing to a freestyle nomad that we have, and I've known Nathan for a long, long time. I mean, I even sponsored him and he did shows for me. And so I got to know a lot of this, that's the old wave, but I don't really know any of these new guys, but I kind of wonder how their experiences will relate to ours, even though we had to show up in uniforms and helmets and do stuff in 100-degree heat. But then again, we would show up at an empty parking lot in Dubuque, Iowa, which most people have never heard of. And an hour before a show, there might be 3 people there. 30 minutes, there would be like 200. And at showtime, you could have like 1,000 people, 2,000 people at a show. So,
Yeah, and Woody, just so give you a perspective, when I go to these different events, recently since I started doing AFA and I started going to the Worlds quite often with the Haro team, it's amazing how much both the current day riders know the history. And I think that's really fortunate that we have that. We're planning to do another tour in 2024, and it's very well received already. We're gonna launch the first thing at Woodward, a little teaser about it. And
wait a second. Do we have to cut this part out of the show, or is this already announced?
Yeah, I saw Dave post something about it.
I posted it
okay.
already. Yeah.
All right.
No, we're just gonna have a little video, and we're gonna initially just launch it at the Woodward event. But my point just being that it's amazing how well the current riders know the history. And yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know, they keep up on it. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So Scott Powell
Can there
teaches
be any
Scott
special
Scott
guest
Powell
rider?
teaches Trevor Watching. Like Scott does give Trevor history lessons, and it's
Yeah.
really very, very, very cool. And Trevor will
Yeah.
go back through older videos to find stuff that like guys had forgotten about, and then he'll hone in on it. And you can tell that you'll see him do stuff that is not being done right now. In other words, he didn't see it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's not easy either. And so you know that he spent a lot of time on it. And that's just super, super cool to see dudes, doing that. And I know how Scott Powell's the librarian of Flatland. And he'll tell
He's
you if somebody's
amazingly
calling
good,
it
man.
right
I've
or
seen his
wrong.
decade videos.
Oh yeah. Like that went for what? 30 days or something, 35 days in a row. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm amazed at how far things have advanced and whatnot. But Dave, I think Wilkerson was. I mean, in my eyes, Wilkerson is like one of the greatest riders our sport ever had. I mean, like he's one of the all-time best of the best. And I remember like somebody was talking about it at an event. I was standing next to Ron, and Ron goes, they were talking about the progression and whatnot. And I remember Ron saying, he goes, they do it better. He goes, but we did it first.
Yeah.
There'll never be another first generation of that. So, it's pretty cool, when you look at it, but
it's refreshing to see that there's some new generation guys too. That are paying attention to the roots and how everything, where it's grown from. And for example, I was at the Interbike show, and it was I think the first year Vicky Gomez he won Nora Cup that year, and I was out of the loop really of knowing who was what. I was still riding here and there, but I wasn't paying attention to what everybody was doing. And I guess Vicky had heard that I was in Vegas, and he found where I was staying, and he come in and he was talking to me, and he asked me, he's like, "Can I take a picture with you?" And I'm like, I didn't even know Vicky, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and next thing you know, we're at the Nora Cup, and he's getting the trophy, and and I found out real quick who Vicky was. But it was really cool. He goes, "Man, he's like, my friends aren't going to believe this." He's like, "We used to watch videos of you when we were younger and try to be like you, and it's refreshing to know that they're like, some of these guys are paying attention and that are super respectful. And man, it's just like they're keeping that alive, of the awareness of like where's all this stuff has come from, So
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey Joe,
Yeah.
do you know who the first person was to do a 540 on a quarter pipe?
Yeah, I was going to ask about this.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too.
Can you
Woody,
take us
do you know
back
who
to
it
that
was?
moment?
I learned that
We figured that out,
early
Woody?
on when I was a
we
kid.
all know on this call. I think we know who.
Some people, maybe, yeah, but a lot of people don't know, and I think that's like for such a great trick.
How did
It was you, Woody.
Why did you
Woody
even
Instant.
do that? Like, take us back to the inspiration.
Me and Martin used to ride together a lot, and we had the SST quarter pipe at his house, and we were, doing fakie airs, and then started doing 360 airs, like coming around backwards, and then we would go up and do a 360 and come around backwards. So anyways, and kind of the thing is, when you go higher, one of two things happens. You either try to spin slower,
Right.
or if you do your normal spin, you spin a lot more because you're in the air more. So we were out doing a show in front of the I think it's at the Winter Park Mall. And
wait a second. Are you about to tell us that you over rotated?
yes. Yeah, absolutely. I did it. We did
He
like
was
Martin did a
over-rotating.
360. So me and Martin like wanted to we always like try to one up each other a little bit.
No
So
way.
he did a 360. So I wanted to go up way higher. So I went way higher on the quarter pipe, like probably front wheel up, top of the coping area. And the front end swung too far and I came down and I was still on the bike. And so when I'm on the ramp, when I ride ramps, I was always right foot forward. Okay. For coaster brake. But when I do like roll back 540s, I'm right foot back. So anyway, so I was left foot forward. So when I spun around, I spin this way. So I spun and I was already a quarter over rotated and the front end was coming down and I landed on the back wheel with the coaster brake and I landed and my front wheel just kind of turned.
No way.
And I thought, and Martin goes, holy shit, you just went around 1.5 times. So the next time I just went the same height and I just spun my normal speed and went all the way around. Boom.
Holy shit.
That was it.
And what year was that? What year was that? Do you remember?
That's the problem. Like even Brian Skura asked me about this and I'd have to go back to look to see when the show is.
Yeah.
Like I've got old flyers and stuff. I think back Kevin Robinson had reached out to me years ago about this subject. So I actually dug through some old magazines to try to find flyers and whatnot to try to pinpoint when it was.
Yeah.
So
82,
83? 82, 83?
Yeah, that's what I would think, 82, 83, but I just wondered if you knew more specific.
No, I can't. Like I said, I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. Like I said, it was a trick. I didn't know it was going to go on to be something bigger, than, and then I remember like I would go on the Hutch tours with Michael and like one day he goes, I'm just going to send it, and I remember
And when he says that,
like the highest I ever did one was probably like bottom bracket at the coping, front wheel. I mean, I get my front wheel out, bottom bracket, but I never got like the whole bike out.
right.
And Michael just took off one time and he was like a couple feet out and he said, man, I was like really sketchy at the coping. He goes, I'm just going to go faster. And he took off. And I mean, like there's photos I've seen from kids showing me like of Mike, like on a Hutch tour doing this like 5-6 feet out.
Yeah.
And it was like, but I can't remember like the first time I ever saw somebody super blasted. Like I remember seeing Mike do them high. I remember Josh White did it pretty darn high. And he had the weirdest pump. Like it would look like he's not even going fast. And then he just go boom. And then like, it was weird, but I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like back when in I hate to say our era, but it was like things were developing so fast at one point, from one side of the country to the other. I used to tell people we'd have parallel evolution, like as soon as like I learned the cherry picker, I taught myself to do pedal pickers. And then when I learned pedal pickers, I taught myself to do it backwards. Because I remember, I think when I was in Florida, there was a guy named Bruce King and he could do pedal pickers and, and they were talking about, well, do you know when you did it? And I said, I don't know. Whenever I learned cherry pickers, but, and all I know is Martin was the one that made up the cherry picker and he showed me and I learned how to, so I'd spin into it. And that's one of the tricks I did at that Venice contest.
Right.
And people were like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah. And so I wonder how many times like between like, what do they call it? The trolley or the stick bitch, between like Aaron Dull and Kevin, and Tim Tracy, right? There's another name from the past.
Yeah.
Stuff was evolving so quick, but yeah, I mean, I remember I think, I did a show at Pedal Power with Martin on SST quarter pipe, and I know RL and Buff came down to the show because I remember the owner of the Pedal Power was like, "Hey man, RL and Buff were here," and they wanted to see it, and I ended up doing a 540 on that show. in the show, and then I remembered on the Vans ramp doing it in front of Michael and Brian and Eddie and all them, you know. And then of course, you know, those guys learned to do it higher, but that's what they were supposed to do. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's your
just plant
job
the
to go
idea.
higher.
Yeah.
it's your job to go higher. Yeah. No, I mean, like that was it. You know, I mean, it was just the nature of the deal. But yeah, man, it was a total over rotation.
Yeah, that's killer.
Wow. Wow.
Well, guys, we're like 2 hours plus in, so
Yeah.
We could keep going too.
Yeah, we could. It's been great, and this is
I
exactly.
could listen to Woody all day, man. It's such a pleasure to have someone
Yeah,
on.
exactly. So
Well, I'm
much
sorry.
kind
I'm
of
sorry it took
history.
so long, Dave. I mean, it's just, you know, it was what it was, and Ray. I want you to know that Dave had sent me a thing. He goes, you know, Ray's really expecting you to come on one of these days, and I said,
Yep.
yeah, I know.
And I
said,
told him not to
always-
tell me.
I genuinely like
told
talking
him.
to Ray. You know,
Genuinely.
Hey Joe,
Yo.
show Woody before we
Oh yeah, Woody, check your Instagram.
yeah.
Oh wait a second.
Pull
so
up.
I don't
pull
even
up.
really have an I mean, my wife.
Yeah.
I've
Oh.
never even. I don't think. I've
Joe
ever
will start
seen- I
one
think-
for you.
I think my
Pull it
wife
up,
did
Joe.
that for me, so somebody wouldn't steal it or
All
use
right,
my name.
I got it.
Oh,
Oh,
Yes.
you can see it again later.
I see it. I see it.
What?
I tagged you in it.
He's gonna put it on the screen here in a second. With the
Oh.
There
gold
it is.
light.
Pippin ain't easy.
Pippin'
There you
Yes.
go.
That is good.
It ain't easy. Nice work. See that?
Oh man.
Yeah. Fuck
See,
yeah.
I was doing what Hutch figured out how to do that long before all the rap singers are doing it with the Lamborghinis and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
And because of that photo, real quick, I purposely had a 77 Corvette and took the T-tops out and went to Reading Skate Park with my Hoffman Evel Knievel in the T-tops hanging out only because of that photo. And it was when I was like,
wow.
30 years old. I was
Of
like,
course
I have to do it
Of
because
course you did, Ray. And I want you guys to know that Richard Hutchins actually sent me the magazine proof from BMX Plus. framed.
Whoa.
That's the original. So that's
Look at
that's the only ad I got hanging up in my house. Well, I got one in my. What's that?
but being a kid and seeing that, there's really nothing cooler than that. Like being able to be in your car and it's a Porsche with your bike in the back. Like
Yep.
when I
For
saw
real-
it, I was like,
for
that's
real,
just
Ray?
Woody just cruising around,
For real, Ray, though, like looking back and seeing that stuff, like it made you want to be a pro. It made you
Absolutely.
want to ride hard.
Yeah.
Like, man,
for sure.
I want to be rocking like that. For sure.
Yeah,
That's why when kids would go to these contests or shows and they would see Woody Itzen and Dominguez and whoever, you guys were beyond superstars, and then you could walk right up to them and talk to them. So if you were into like freestyle back in the day, you had quite an experience, and you're really lucky that the people that you saw on video or on magazines, you could just walk up to them and hang out and talk to them.
So the
which is
first
something that's
time
great.
there was a Haro show with Hoffman, and it was at Tim's Cycle in North Olmsted.
Mhm.
And before the show, my friend who was riding ramps was talking to Matt Hoffman, and Matt, he goes, "What's going to be your last trick?" And he goes, "Nothing." And I was like, "Now's my chance to make a joke." And I'm like, "You're not going to do anything for your last trick?" But I remember that, so I was like, I'm gonna make my hero laugh, and he didn't laugh.
He didn't
He
laugh.
didn't laugh.
No, but sometimes Matt's like that, right?
Yeah,
It's-
Matt's
I know
still
that
trying
now.
to process that.
Yeah.
I know that now. But if I got Woody Itzen to laugh, then it's
I can
worth
get Woody to laugh if I had to.
Woody, you're going to the old school reunion at Woodward? Are
You
you
don't
gonna be
have
there?
time for that.
No,
No,
he's
my
golfing.
There's
my
not-
son. That's this coming weekend, huh?
No, 2
September
weekends away.
2nd,
Labor Day.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
September. When is it?
It's
September 2nd, 3rd, and the 4th.
No, I mean I hadn't planned on it, but I mean
Oh,
I know I'm going to California first week of October. And I know my brother is out in California with my dad right now. He just got there today. So there's a chance I might jump a quick flight and go out there, but I hadn't planned on it.
So what could factOrFreestyle do right now to incentivize, give you a little incentive to do that? Because Joe,
it's not
just plan on going next year. Woody, go
'cause-
next year. It'll be way better because I'm going to be there
Ray's,
next year.
Ray's going to be there. Ray, you can go this year. Come on.
No, because I have to order the lemons for my lemonade stand. Hey, Woody, do you think Bob Haro would be upset if I opened a lemonade stand next to him peddling shirts? Would you sit there with me and Pete Augustin with a Ray's lemonade stand shirt on and peddle lemonade with
absolutely.
me, Pete, and you?
I
There you go.
would probably have more fun doing that than just about anything else.
Yeah.
I would like
Well,
to show you
Ray,
guys
know that.
Bob
I mean,
Haro.
Me and
I
Woody
like to laugh.
heckling Bob Haro.
So Bob Haro's Wikipedia page.
Oh gosh, I can't believe this is real. You put this on there.
I did not. I think
You
it
had to.
was. No, I think it was Tim Knoll.
What's it say?
Wait, right there.
Oh, Joe Sisman in YouTube factOrFree has been gossiping about the intensity of Bob Haro's. I remember your whole thing about that, about the handshake.
The over gripper.
I do remember that. He has a pretty stout handshake.
Yeah. Stout. And Woody, so Bob said that he's over that now, though. He's no longer doing that. That was in the past. So
It was
Okay.
Big Kevin who taught him how to do it.
Big Kevin in sales, basically.
Big
Jeez.
Kevin in sales.
When he shook his hand and Kevin's like, what kind of handshake is that? What's
He
your mother-"
goes, did your mom raise any men?
Oh, that's good.
And that's where the overgripping came.
And that's what started it.
That's funny. That I had no idea. I would never ask somebody anyways. You just kind of think it's weird. You shake his hand and you're like, that's a little odd, but whatever.
Joe's made a career on it.
Yeah.
You never asked him, and Joe's made a career on it.
Well,
What
I was
makes a
telling
career
the
on
story.
that?
It's a blue ocean. No one's asking these questions.
Yeah. And I was just telling a story, and Pete Augustin was on the call. And Pete's like, he did the same thing to me. And that's when Joe was like, oh, wait a minute now. Wait a
There's
minute.
something
Are you
to
telling
this.
me? Yes. Are you telling me that he's an overgripper? So that's where it started.
That's funny because and you would think somebody like Pete, who looks like a pretty, put together
Yeah.
pretty well, looks like a pretty intimidating. It's like the nicest guy in the world, and you would think like if anybody's gonna have a brutal handshake, it would be him.
Right.
That's how you sneak up on them. It's like
Yeah.
find the tallest dude, smack him up, and then you're
So
the
what?
boss.
Did Haro give you like a weird look when you did that to him?
Well,
The best
There's a
part.
picture where
I
he's going
did.
like this.
I did. I gripped. It took him a minute
hard
to
as you
figure
could.
out what was going on, and Dave was like, "Are you over gripping Bob Haro?"
And then there's a picture. There's a picture when
He's looking at his. Oh wait. Ray did. It's on Ray's Instagram.
Yeah, find it on the Instagram. You have to see this picture. But Bob's been really good, nice and good-hearted about this whole thing because we do want him on the show, and I think he will be one day. So we have to.
Yeah, I mean, I would think he would because I mean, I know Bob's like he's always doing stuff. I see him involved. Heck, I've even seen little clips of like Bob Haro candy bar and
Oh yeah.
A beer. He has his own beer now.
It's basically like, you know how yogurt in Spaceballs had all his merchandise? There's one of every one of those for Bob Haro.
So Woody, this is like right after Joe shook his
I remember seeing this. I remember seeing this online.
When he points to the hand, like you couldn't have captured that better. That photo right there. Whoever took that.
So
It's so
funny.
good.
That is too funny. Oh my God, you guys.
Born from BMX.
We just
This
can't get
is-
enough of it, Woody.
This is like that meme of that little girl in front of the house fire.
And it looks like there's room for the lemonade stand there too.
Oh yeah, so Ray's
So-
gonna set up a lemonade stand and try to outsell Bob's autograph booth.
Hey, can I sponsor that lemonade stand? Some
Yes.
Flatland sponsorship?
Yeah, yeah.
What do I need?
I
I'll
just
buy
need-
cups and shit.
I think the main thing is I want it to be pure lemonade and cane sugar. And
Yeah,
then
the real stuff.
and then,
the real
like the
stuff.
Mexican,
and then
like the
the
Mexican,
water will be the water will
Coca-Cola.
be Bob Haro's tears.
Oh my God.
Just
Ray.
because
How
I
much
want
is
somebody to
that?
hang
What
out
is that
with the
going
whole
for?
time.
How much are you
Is
gonna
that
charge?
5,000 a cup?
Yeah.
43 cents for a 12-ounce cup with a lot of ice.
Wow,
Oh
that's
my
a
God.
deal. That's
Yeah.
a deal.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I'm down to sponsor it though for sure.
All right.
Hey Woody, are you
So-
going to you're going to Tulsa though for the
Oh
in
yeah,
October?
absolutely. I mean, I've been lobbying for Kevin for a while.
Yeah.
It's like-
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going. Joe and I are going to be there, Woody.
yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome.
I'll
I
be
mean,
there too. Ray.
barring family emergency.
Ray,
I
make
will
sure
be
you
there.
include me.
Right.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And Chris will be there.
That's right. There you go.
Yep.
All
Well,
the
good.
hoods are
Looking
I'm
forward to it.
undecided at this point.
Dave's not going to go. 'cause
Well,
he's
I
got
know
other
we're going to
stuff do.
compete. What I was thinking about doing, Ray, is I was going to compete in novice
Right.
class at Battle of the Rockies
Yeah.
and get on a plane and fly there and make the.
Is there something easier than novice? Because remember, if you
Uh,
do all your tricks,
Maybe
only
I'll
do the
just do a
tricks.
show. Maybe I'll just do a
Yeah, I
show.
would think do a show and only do the tricks you know you can do. Remember, I gave you that advice.
Yeah.
Woody would have took that advice, I bet. Only do the tricks you know you can do. That way you won't touch. Woody rarely touched because he trained and he did the tricks that he knew how to do.
I know. I'm
You
going to
know,
get on the
there's-
Woody
there's-
program.
You never
Yeah.
saw Woody
No.
out there tapping the floor a bunch.
You know,
remember
you know?
there's two touches. There's a touch and then there's the Dave's the sneaky touch.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dave can do a sneaky touch
The
like
sneaky touches.
a predator.
Dave
you
gets
know?
a
He does
pass.
Sneaky.
Dave gives the
He
little
does.
pass for sneaky touch.
He does what they call the priest touch. No one
Super
saw it.
legend.
hey Woody, I had one
Oh.
question about Top Guns.
Yes, sir. God,
What?
Ray.
What did it take to get? I missed Ray's joke now. I'm sure it was about me.
Oh my God.
Here he goes.
So bad.
I have to listen back to it. I'm sure it was.
We're just gonna call Dan's gonna be known as the priest.
Jeez. Ray. I'll let him tell you, Ray.
I'll listen back and then get in on it because I missed it.
Woody said it.
I
Woody
did not
said-
say it. You did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I said it. Woody
Well,
heard it,
hopefully, Woody, you can get out to the old school reunion. I'll get to see
Yeah, I
you
mean,
out there.
I went along. I think I went to like the first one they had.
I've never been there, so this is my first. This will be my
Yeah.
first.
It's a good time. It's a good time. There's a lot of. It's just like I said. My brother. Actually, that's what's been going on my phone. My brother's now in town, so he's been trying to call me and text me, and so something's going on back at the house in California.
Yeah.
So I got to see what's up with that. But
Yeah, get to that. See what's
Yeah,
going
I'm
on.
gonna. I got a little trip, so I'm gonna fly out there, rent a car, fly to LA, rent a car, go down to Woodward, come back Sunday. I'm gonna go to San Francisco and hang out with Pete B and ride at the clock tower with him.
nice.
Yep, and we got a new team member. We picked up Pete Brandt on
Yeah,
Flatland.
Pete's a machine, man. That kid is.
Yep.
He's
Yep.
been great forever.
Dude,
Yeah.
Pete's a fucking beast, bro.
Dude, remember him and Emerson, man? They were
Yeah.
two of the best, two of the best in the later '80s. They were two of the
Dude.
best riders I ever saw.
Yep.
So good. It's still killing it.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah,
Yep.
Pete's awesome. So what?
All right,
So
Dave,
you-
is that a wrap?
Oh,
Dave, you're gonna have to watch the whole show. 2 hours
know.
and 25 minutes to
I
find
will.
out the joke that Woody said about you.
I know it wasn't Woody because
Oh,
Woody
you
was
know
just.
it
It's Woody. I'm just
Dave
I'm
is
just
so-
taking the-
Dave is so funny. He's like, I know it's not Woody.
You said
Yeah.
something about Top Gun, Dave. That's what it
Raymond.
was.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So that's a trick because that's a trick that I want to bring back because no one does it.
No.
You mean like the
And-
full press, like
Yeah, the full press because I always jump
With
like
Rick
Peter
Handstand?
Gustin. Yeah, I jump like
Can
Peter
you-
Gustin style, right? Where you just jump into it. But
Yeah,
I never.
That's
do
a big
press.
trick for a 60-year-old man. That's a lot
I'm
of.
not
You got to really
60.
start lifting.
I'm not
Well,
even-
you got your
He's talking
clothes.
about me, Ray.
Who's older? You or Woody? How old are you,
Woody
Woody?
is.
I'll be 59 here this week.
Oh,
No
happy birthday.
way.
Well, happy early birthday.
Happy
59.
birthday.
Yeah, and I'll be 57
Dude.
in December. So he's got a
Yeah.
couple years on me.
Yeah.
What did you do to train for that though? Did you do like work?
Well, I
So what,
was already
59?
He
doing
was
gut
24.
levers and
That's
I
the
was already
training.
doing like, gut levers and it's an inverts and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and then I was doing eye hops and I would just jump up into a handstand. I actually tried a few times to hop and I don't ever
In a
really
handstand.
Yeah, I tried to do like like eye hop jump up.
Yeah, I
and
remember
tried to
that.
pull up when I would jump and then I try to land and pull up, but I don't really know if I ever hopped.
Knock your
But
teeth out.
it felt more like my arms doing this than me actually hopping.
Right.
But there's a rider who said, I think it might have been Trey Leaper, actually. Somebody said, he goes, I could swear I saw you hop like 2 or 3 times in that position. And I said, well, it wasn't for lack of trying, but to me, it always felt like it was just me fighting with my bike, trying to keep my balance up there. Because every once in a while, if you kicked your feet up high enough, you would hit a point where you actually felt comfortable for a second and you could balance. I mean, not like for any period of time, but for like, a couple seconds, you would be up there straight and you go, oh, this feels pretty good. And your feet would drop back down and you finish your eye hops and do a little tail whip out of it. But I tried to hop, but I just didn't have the physical strength to really do it, you know? Because
But
Man,
the Top Gun rolling though, you just practice that pushing
So it was just one of those things. I used to do bar hops.
right.
That was like an early freestyle trick: bar hop forward, bar hop backwards. So I would do bar hops. So I remember watching gymnasts, on a pommel horse thing, kick their feet up and then lift and press into a handstand. So I'm all right. So I started doing the bar hop and then just putting my legs together and kicking my feet up and holding them up in front of me.
That's awesome.
And then I thought, I go, man, I just got to get back through here. And I was trying to do it with like they do it, but I just wasn't that flexible. So I had to bend my feet a little bit to get them underneath the crossbar. And then I would just literally switch my weight up over the bar and then press up. And sometimes, most of the time my arms were probably like, they weren't dead straight. They were like this because it was easier to control the bike like that. When your arms are like this, it's hard to control the damn bike.
Yeah.
I tried a couple times and it got sketchy, but I just remember just practicing it. And I remember kids used to come up to me and tell me, man, I tried doing that and I got hurt. I remember Jesse Puente telling me, he goes, I went right over on my back one time trying that.
Yeah.
So Woody, how
Just-
many
just
vanity
trying to
tricks
get
did
the
you invent? Because I
Quicksilver.
count.
Quicksilver.
What's
You know,
that?
Quicksilver.
All right, we're gonna be here till 7 now. We're gonna talk about Quicksilver now.
How,
Yeah.
how-
All right,
Talk
guys.
about Quicksilver. That was so rad. You had a little backpack on in that scene.
Yeah. Well, we auditioned
Did that
on our
help with the
20-inch
gut
bikes,
levers?
and
The
then
backpack help with the gut levers.
we auditioned on our 20-inch bikes. And they said, okay, you got the job. And then we show up there and they give us 10 speeds.
Oh my god!
I'm all, bro, really? Like,
What about Pat Romano and them fucking those multiple hang gliding flails?
Oh, dude, that guy Franz was so amazing to watch. Like, I didn't even
Oh
want to
my
ride.
god, dude, crazy!
I looked at him and I told him, I go, dude, like, you're the best rider I've ever seen. And the guy goes, and he would say, he goes, I see you on your regular bike. He goes, like, do some of that stuff. He goes, very,
Yeah,
very,
that's fucking awesome.
but man, I was blown away watching that guy just spin him, doom, 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 like it was nothing. But I mean, the forks are straight up and down. He's got the 10-speed bars turned upside down, and he's right over the top, and he balances himself, and then he uses his leg to kick himself. Just click, boom, 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 boom.
Steve
All right, Dave,
Moller.
once again, we got off subject. It just
You've seen
That's the
Steve
nature
Moller.
of the show. Yeah.
Hold
how-
on, real quick. 1994, 95. Woody Itzen is in a very, very famous movie. Do you guys know what it is? Woody, please don't answer the question.
Oh, 94,
Triple X.
Nope.
90.
He is clearly visible on screen in a very, very famous movie.
Oh, Three Men and
I
a
believe
Baby.
another. Nope, he and another famous, I believe, a BMXer.
Yep.
Woody, I'll let you do the honors. Hit it.
clueless.
Yep.
Oh,
Really?
Woody's in Clueless.
No way.
Yeah. He is a stunt double. He is a partier. he's at a teenage party now that I know that he's almost 60. He was probably playing he was probably 40 years old playing
Creepy.
playing a
Creeping on a Lisa
14-year-old.
Silverstone.
Yep. But Woody's in it. These are the things I know, Joe. Okay.
So
Who was the other guy with you? Who was the other guy that did it with you?
Kevin Jackson, Factory Schwinn BMX Pro.
Yeah.
Jackson.
hey, Woody, how many vanity tricks do you have? Ones that you invented that you named? I counted the IHOP.
Mhm.
It's an invert,
Mhm.
and the Woody picker.
What the hell? That's new. See, that's one. That's new to me right there. So I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. So scratch that off then.
Joe, that's just Joe being Factor Freestyle right there. He's just.
There might have been one they called a Woody Whip, but not a Woody Picker.
A Woody Whip, maybe.
Woody whip.
So that's when you'd be doing like up rocking on the top frame, and then you pivot on the seat post, and then pick up the bike and spin like a 360 or 540 on the tube from a stop.
That must have been it.
Pete Augustine used to call that a trick saver, Woody.
Yeah, like I said, it's who knows. And just so I mean, look, you two, Joe and Ray might not know this, but I know for damn sure Dave's probably has to know this. At half the time when we would show up for a photo shoot, they would say, "What do you got new?" And then you would do it, and they're all, "What do you call it?" And I go, "I don't know." And half the time, friggin' magazines would end up naming it.
Yes.
Make them
The liberal elite global
Yeah.
BMX
Yes.
media changed the lexicon.
He got it in there. There it was.
So Woody,
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. At that same contest, Venice Beach, where I got second. I didn't ride for 10 minutes, whatever I rode. I think I rode for
I
5.
apologize for that, Dave.
No, don't apologize. I have nothing on it. I just love to know the backstory. I was taking a little warm-up session before the contest, and I was trying to do the Miami Hopper handstand. I hadn't gotten down yet. My handlebar was against the seat and my bike was leaning over, and I just kicked my legs up into what now is a Miami wedge.
Mhm.
And I didn't even pull it. They put it in BMX Plus, full color page. The trick was not, I was working, I was practicing it. It wasn't even a trick at that point.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I
so
put-
I mean that happened, but yeah, so a lot of times that stuff got named. I mean, by other people, either photographer or somebody that was there, or So I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, you'd show up to do a trick, and they go, "I've never seen that before. What do you call that?" And I said, "I don't know. It's an invert." And then the magazine would say, "Okay, it's an invert."
Yeah.
And I
Joe's
said, "Okay."
loading a question in his head. I can see it. He's twitching.
Did they also coach you on mouth posing?
No, I wasn't even aware of that until you made it a thing. I just figured everybody was having more fun than me when they were doing their tricks.
Mm.
It's hard to be smiling when you're pressing a straight
Right.
arm handstand, trying not to fall down.
Yeah, yes.
As all the blood rushes to your head, I never
Turning-
thought about turning my head and going,
Yeah, turning and look at the camera, right? Yeah.
Right. Gary Pollock never mouth posed.
Nope.
Gary, look, I could tell you some stories about Gary Pollock.
Sounds like we're gonna have to
We
have
know
Ray
how he
on.
got his nickname.
Oh man, I love Gary. Gary is funny, man. I remember doing a photo shoot with him, and I think I laughed so hard, my side hurt. I even had to tell John Carr, I got to take a break for a minute. I can't. Do you remember? Do you remember the photo, Ray, of Gary? I think it was at the very end of BMX Plus and the thing, and there was a shit ton of like
Diary of an Idiot, they called it. And it was
Powdery-
Gary just doing all this shit. Yeah.
powdery dust, and it said something like, "Look out, here comes trouble," or something like that. Well, Gary
Yeah.
found like an empty, unused bag of cement or something, and he ripped the corner off. And I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm skywriting on the ground." And he rode all over the parking lot, and then he went and did a power slide through it. I was laughing so hard. I go, "Man, what is wrong with you, kid?" I just couldn't. I mean, and that's just the way his brain worked. But I always loved being around that kid. When he would do stuff, I would laugh.
Yeah, I have around 50 stories of Gary riding after a big heavy rain and there'd be puddles, and he would just go by bus stations and just wash out the back wheel, and he would just call it, "Hey, let's go 5-0 and Hawaii 5-0." Boom, and he would just soak people waiting for the bus. I mean, like with the biggest dirty puddle you've ever got hit with. But he could create some shit, man. He could create some shit back in the day.
If you ever get Martin Aparijo on your show, Dave, I don't know if he's done it or not, But
doesn't
if
want
He
to.
doesn't like Joe. He thinks Joe's an
No.
asshole.
No, he just doesn't.
It was a misunderstanding. It
Right.
was a
Yeah, he thinks Joe's an
I
asshole.
get the feeling that
Joe
you have
screwed it up.
probably had a few misunderstandings in time.
He did.
Well, I am very
Haro
good at
won't talk to him.
apologizing because of how
No.
much practice I've accumulated.
Yeah.
But I think it's just that Martin doesn't necessarily like to do these kinds of. He doesn't want to. I talked to him about it. He said, you know, you just get thrown on there, and then people start asking you all these questions, and like,
Yeah.
kind of
Well,
throwing
he'll
you-
watch this one. He'll watch this one with Woody, and he'll fall in love. So, what were you going to say about Woody? I mean, Woody, what were you going to say about Martin?
Oh, I was
About
going to
doing
say,
something bad.
if you get Martin, ask him about the time we were driving around on my mini truck in the rain in Buena Park. So-
Oh, Hawaii 5-0. I
Ah,
know.
Oh man, I felt like I was getting sucked into a black hole. The puddle was so deep, and Bart, all I remembered was a wall of water. The whole bus stop disappeared, and I could still hear Barton laughing to this very day.
Wow.
That's
It was
so
his idea,
evil.
by the way.
of course,
Of
of
course it
course,
was.
of
It's
course.
always the driver's idea.
Yeah.
All right,
All right,
guys. Look, I
guys.
know you got better things to do.
Yeah, let's call it a wrap. No, we don't have better things to do. We thank you for being on.
This was extremely
Woody.
good.
This was a great one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
Absolute,
Woody-
absolute pleasure.
Woody, we'll
being
see
on there
you.
with you guys.
We'll see you in Oklahoma.
Yes,
Good
sir.
luck with your father. I hope he,
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
Yes.
okay. I know what it's like having the father that's a little ill. It takes up
Yeah.
a lot of time. It's stressful, but good luck, buddy.
Yeah, it's one of those deals. And my son, he actually gets surgery this coming Friday on his knee, so
Oh wow.
got to deal with that. So got some stuff coming up, and then I have an event in Arkansas. I think that's probably why I'm not actually going to be at the Woodward deal, because I believe that is father-daughter weekend in the sorority, the University of Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I could be wrong, but I remember seeing, like, when I saw the dates, because Xavier does a good job about reminding me. I just don't do a good job about showing up, but anyways,
Well, you
Oh,
showed
man.
up today, so thank you.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Woody. It was.
right, guys.
It's been great.
All right.
Absolute
Have a good one,
pleasure
guys.
All right.
being on the show with you guys.
Thanks. Take it
All
easy,
right.
guys. I'll see you later.
See you, Chris.
Another one in the
See
book.
you guys in Oklahoma.
Yep.